All right, this is the December video chat. Uh, I, Announcements I'm not so happy about. Well, mixed feelings. The game dungeon I've been working on, it's going to be a big one, but it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be worth it. This is one of the rare instances where it's taking longer, and I feel like it deserves to take longer. Almost every single time, it's because of these damn tiny details that are simple in concept, but they pile up. So things in my mind that should take hours take days. I mean, this almost every episode has some of that, but this is one where it's like, no, I need to do some more research on this, or like, no, I need to really think out how to say this. So I think it's going to make it that much better an episode. So, but it keeps getting stalled. So what happens is, uh, I'm getting ready to release it. Then there's some setback, and then there's a holiday one. Have to do that, then get back to it. Then there's another so that's what's happening right now. Is the episode I was hoping to have last month is probably gonna have to get kicked to January, and I'm going in on the Christmas episode next instead, and the side video depending on how much time there is, because I get the feeling like I feel like confident I could have it, like depending on how much help I did or didn't get. I could probably have the next one out in like 2 weeks, but then that would leave me like really crunched to get the Christmas one out in time, and that would not be fun at all. Where I'm just scrambling like 12, 15-hour days, just editing or recording and stuff around the clock to get it out. And my instincts were telling me that's what's going to happen if I get the next one out as planned. So I'm just kicking it to January instead. Um, and, and hopefully be finishing up on one of the side videos too. So there's probably going to be more than usual for January this time, and there'll be at least a Christmas one coming up. So, uh, let's see. So that's what's going on with Game Dungeon. The side videos are just the side video. It's like I've done like that's when I plan to get additional help on, and I've been just bottlenecking it for just months unintentionally because every day I'm thinking, oh, I should get on this and just finish off this stuff, and then I can have somebody else work on it. But every day I end up working on one of the game dungeons instead, or something other crisis I have to deal with. So it's like it just keeps it's so in my mind though. I'll say that like it's not like I've forgotten about it, but oh, and for this broadcast in particular, I may look a little more ragged today. I guess I look okay. Today, I went out to a little earlier to exercise, went on a run, and came back only to discover, and it's winter here now. I mean, there's snow on the ground all over the place, even which I mean I haven't had for like I want to say like 3 years. We just didn't have any. We barely had any snow at all where I was during the winter. So I'm happy for that. It's kind of colder, but I come back and discover no, our water's out, like just completely out. So and the thing is, not only have I run, so I need to take a shower from that, but I'm absorbing all the coal smoke, or I should say lignite smoke. That's like the nastiest kind of coal that the locals are burning. So I have to bathe, from this. So our water's completely out. That's happened once or twice during the summer. Never happened in winter, but when it happened in the summer, I had these kind of couple jugs I just filled up with tap water for this scenario, except I wasn't planning on having to take a shower like this. So basically, I was just there with no water in the winter. It's just ice cold. I have had to bathe without, running water before, but never like during the winter. So this is a first for me. So it was about as bad as it sounds. Like, just ducking water on you, and just like all I can do is just kind of like breathe heavily and hyperventilate. And I guess I have a little more energy now, but I want to say for like a couple hours afterwards, it was almost like I was in shock a little bit, just basically bathing in ice cold water, shampooing and just ducking, and just like, trying to deal with the cold from that. So I'm still a little bit off from that, but it's over with, and I'm not going out again until tomorrow, and hopefully our water comes back. bad timing for that to not have running water. So um, let's see. So I'm saying I should bulk up on antioxidants. Yeah, maybe. I should look up what I should be taking. But man, yeah, this is the first time I've had to like bathe in cold water in the winter. So I have done that at various times before when the water's been out, but never in the winter. So I guess it's easy compared to those like survival videos where you'll have a character that falls into like a frozen pond and people fish them out and they have to like strip them down, put them by a fire. So it wasn't that bad, but it was. I mean, there are points where all I could do is just it's just breathing from the physical shock from it. Um, no, that was hours ago though, but it left an impression. Uh, let's see, any other announcements? I've just been doing videos really. Yeah, I think that's it. Just more videos coming. I swear, like it, it hasn't been the most efficient process, but there's going to be several good videos coming nearish future. So I was asking about Freeman's Mind. Freeman's Mind's, I have to put it off a little bit at least until I get these others out. And plus, I need to check in with the sound effects guy because the last guy, I mean, because the other guy got too busy, and then the last guy, he was great for like 95% of it. And then he kind of, I mean, it was sort of bad timing for him, but it's like we just sort of hit an impasse or it kind of left me hanging on two parts where I had to like do it all myself. And that slowed me down a lot because it's been a while since I've had to do like all the sound effects for one part. It was just a couple parts, but I was like kind of picky thinking like, no, this sounds all wrong. Like we need to kind of have the mix, and he wasn't able to help with that part. It was, he disagreed on it, and we were kind of butting heads more on it, so that didn't work out as well. But I'm up to my neck in projects. I need to get more cleared, like need to get more done. But yeah, sorry, Freeman's Mind's kind of. Like, are we getting a late Christmas this year? No, I'm gonna make. You're getting a late November video this year. Next is what's happening in order to make way for Christmas. So. All right, so I guess let's see. A lot of comments. Homeward bound sassy moment. I don't know what that means, but it's. I guess I'll go to the submitted questions then. Yeah, this one, the top one is one I think I've had before, but if it gets top voted, I'll go with it. Aside from being able to play it without relying on a central server, what's one feature, option, setting, mechanic that you think should be standardized and become universal across all games? Well, if we're talking about all games, that's a wide net because a lot of things that you really expect from one genre just don't even apply to another one. I took some notes. I don't have a lot, but well, the obvious one that it's not going to be the case because of modern development and business practices, but I would say play test it. Make unless it's an early access game, make an honest effort that like, okay, we're pretty sure the bugs are done, but that's just not how games are done now. Oh yeah, I was reading. There's news with Cyberpunk 2077. Their CD Projekt announced that they're finally going to add like the metro stations. Apparently, that was a touted feature. So they're still finishing that game. Cyberpunk. I'm waiting for them to finish it before I play it. And even then, I think the finished version isn't going to have all the features that they promised. I'm intentionally trying to stay in the dark on it. But that's kind of what I mean is if your game's early access, you should label it like that. Of course, big companies can make more money if they don't, but let's see. I mean, you can always add more to a game afterwards, but to me, like early access says it either has like a lot of bugs and it, or there's missing features you're planning on adding and this was advertised, but they're not there yet. That's kind of what early access says to me. So if you're adding stuff that goes beyond what you promised for a 1.0 release, well, that's fine. That's not early access. That's just continual development of the game. So, but yeah, look, I would not have a problem if game development had a breather and could go more old school where you're releasing it as though you only have one shot. Obviously, you're never going to get every single bug or everything, but you could take your bet. You could treat it like you're going to burn it and this is the only copy people will ever play. I would be totally fine with that, though. I think we're not going back to that. So, or most companies anyway. That would be, that would be a nice label to have that the developer could add. Because you know how we have early access, you can have it I don't know what you'd call it, but 1.0 certified or something, as in you're releasing this game as though it is a 1.0 game from the 90s or something, as in your customers may never have access to a patch or anything like that. And the thing is, the developer themselves could report that, and then when they totally don't live up to it, then it wouldn't have to be any approval thing. It could just be the developer on their honor saying that, yeah, this is a 1.0 ready game or something like that. Because, I want to say the majority of AAA games aren't like that now. They're whenever there's a day zero patch or something, that means, no, they're working to the last second because they're just getting done what they. I was looking a little crooked trying to adjust this. That they're working to the last second to make it work, but that's. But yeah, I guess often it's not the developers in charge of that so much as the publishers. So the developers probably would be all right with doing that, but no, that's not a bad. I guess indie devs, if they don't run out of money, could have more of that. But I like that idea, having a self-reported 1.0 ready game. Doesn't mean it's flawless. It just means you really tried. You really tried to have this be a polished product out the gate. So, what else? Oh yeah, other features. Okay. Geez, I'm not. Oh yeah. I think this could apply to all games. When it's not I'm all right for the first time you run it not having this, but every subsequent time, have the option to skip intro videos, splash screens, the copyright info, that sort of thing. It'll still display, but you can just hit a button, fly right through it. Because some games, if you can beat it in a couple sessions, it's not that big a deal. But I keep thinking back to The Crew, where that was a game I played over and over against many different sessions. And it was just wasting so much of my time to have that there and have that be unskippable. And it has to be because one manager there said, here, put this in the game. They never thought about it again. And now that affects millions of people. That has to be it, I think that could apply to every single game. As in, if you want to have that unskippable the first time you run it, okay, that's all right, because you want to make sure everybody sees the logos and the intro and whatever. Every subsequent time, it needs to save a file saying, okay, not the first time this is running. That needs to be skippable, Yeah, and this gets really worse for games that you expect to have a lot of replayability. It's a game you could play off and on for years. But yeah, I feel like that could apply to every single game. As in that should be a feat, because nobody wants that. No player wants that, to have to sit and wait for the logos artificially, that sort of thing. Beyond that, I don't know if I had much for every game. Uh, for 3D games, even then, I wouldn't say this is every 3D game, but ones where you have some sort of perspective, like first person or third person, you're looking around the world, as opposed to like a top down thing. They're getting better at this, but really try to have some sort of FOV, field of view, slider setting, because that can be that can make or break a game for some people. To some extent, me too. If it's like zoomed in, that turns me off from a game so much. And my wife's actually been wanting to play a couple of the Final Fantasy games that don't have that, but she said the default setting just makes her sick. So, yeah, somebody's saying rebindable keys. I'd say that's less of an issue on PC, because if it gets really bad, like I can load up auto hotkey and just manually map it, but not everybody knows how to do that, and plus it's kind of a hassle to. But yeah, I was thinking that too. Remappable keys, because oh man, that was something I meant to look up. Let me find that. Let's see. Oh, here, let me look at what else is on my list first. Oh yeah, for me, I mean, I guess there's a few games this wouldn't apply to, and that people would argue this like goes against their artistic integrity. But I personally would love an option for games that use it to just disable tinting. I hate it the majority of the time it's used. Every once in a blue moon, I see a game that uses it well. Most of the time, it just gets abused, in my opinion. And I know some people. This one doesn't bother me so much, but some people hate it. Is chromatic aberration, that red and blue splitting effect. I know some people really hate that effect and want to be able to disable it. I like being able to turn off film grain. That's another one. I also like being able to disable depth of field for anything that's not either a cutscene or it makes sense. In other words, so if you're like looking through a sniper scope or binoculars and you want to like have that effect, okay, that makes sense to have depth of field there. But if you're just like looking around in general and just it's like you're nearsighted I don't know. I never really liked the effect. So yes, okay, somebody's saying somebody's saying Arkham Asylum has good tinting and chromatic aberration is hit or miss. One person says the only game they liked with it was Bloodborne, and it still gave them a headache. So I didn't know Bloodborne had chromatic aberration. Yeah, again, it doesn't bother me too much, but I can understand where. But again, the tinting bothers me, but doesn't bother other people. So it's probably a different taste thing. But yeah, the thing I wanted to look up is okay. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to. Okay, I think there were 2 articles on this. So yes, I don't mean to. Okay, that's one article. Okay, well, the headline was, it took a modder just hours to add 4K support to the Metal Gear Solid collection. Yeah, I guess as much as the engine allows have unlocked resolutions, because sometimes if you go real high, like I think even Direct 3D might have limitations in older versions, but sometimes it's not practical. But there was like a list of features, if I can find it, that they added to it here, to the Metal Gear Solid collection, where they have like Metal Gear, I think it was like 1, 2, and 3. Oh man. Oh man, I can't find. Okay, well, just going off the top of my head, I think it was within hours or days maximum. Like modders added skippable cutscenes, ultra wide support, high resolution support. I think like they uncapped the frame rate. they, geez, there was some more quality of life stuff that they did. I was thinking, this is like a list of things they did in hours, and like I'm always really hesitant to use the term like lazy developer, and even in this case, I kind of think that's still probably true because I imagine most game developers are just kind of working themselves raw on this, and it's just there's like a thousand things they have to do, and they inevitably miss things. But this is something where it's like just like crap port management, I guess is what I would call it. That if modders are able to do this in hours with just a hack, is let's see, I don't know, it just doesn't seem. It seems like maybe they should have put aside the have it delayed like one more day to add like a lot of quality of life features. It's let's see. But yeah, I mean, there was more that patch added. I remember reading about it, but I can't find the article now. But it's yeah. I mean, I would like to see that kind of. I'd like to see a game not having that be the exception. This is more for 3D games because obviously, if it's a 2D game, then you're not going to have to worry about the same sorts of things like field of view and well, like the resolution scaling. Though I have a lot of, well, actually for a lot of games you do, although I've really leaned in hard, especially on this new monitor with the program lossless scaling as a duck for an icon. Man, because I can switch between nearest neighbor scaling, or the other one I found works pretty well is AMD's FSR mode and then I can basically take any game, I can essentially run in a window, blow it up full screen, and have like, pixel perfect graphics pretty much. I love it. So I've used that on several programs. It's one I access a lot. So that's less of an issue for me from the developer because I have a third-party program that can most of the time handle it. But yeah, and there's other things like that, are nice when they're by the developer, but you can usually force it on your ends, like stuff like VSync, or I think you can force anisotropic filtering on almost any game. But I mean, any 3D game, obviously. But yeah, I don't like to add too much more than that because when you say any game, I mean you're talking about stuff like that could almost be like on Atari pixel graphic level to a AAA production that's like like GTA or something to small indie games, just everything in between. So there's not so many universal threads among them, but the two I had were play tested and skip the intro stuff if you want to. So actually, I'd say skip cutscenes too. I mean, for players for players who don't want it, and two, for players who have played the game but they're going back and playing it for some reason, so they already know it, But okay, yeah. So I should move on. That was just the first question. Should go a little faster. Okay, well, next one's easy. Have you seen the hour-long documentary Valve put out for Half-Life's 25th anniversary? No, I haven't. This may disappoint people, but again, I've said before, I'm kind of saturated on Half-Life. I don't hate it. It's just like I've burned out my ability. I've burned out my curiosity and interest in more Half-Life. That said, I probably will at some point play Half-Life Alyx because that's a VR experience and apparently like gets like the full red carpet treatment. So I am going to play that, but and that's something I and it'll be a fresh storyline, hopefully. I mean, even though it's a prequel, but whereas if I'm retreading Half-Life again, then it's like, I don't know, guys. It's just I kind of look at it like a devil's bargain, where I have gotten some fame and success from making videos about Half-Life, but the cost is I can't really enjoy more Half-Life. So It was worth it. And I remember way back there was a Mad Magazine article about people who like made devil's bargains at a cost, and I forgot almost all of them, but I remember one was for Clint Eastwood. You know that he would have a successful acting career, but at the cost of only being able to squint for the rest of his life. You know? uh, let's see so I kind of look at it like that, but let's see. You've mentioned before that you disagree that you don't owe us videos. Can you expand on that? Do you think our support necessitates that you create content for us, even if you might not enjoy it? Uh, no, well, okay, I guess first off, from a legal standpoint, no, I do not owe you more videos, but that's not, there's not like a contractual obligation. I'm not, but that wasn't really what I was referring to. It's more like if somebody donates money because they like the videos, I'm acting under the assumption that they would like me to make more. And, you know, if I was just kind of cash in, then give nothing, then do nothing else, then that would be, it just sort of feels like that would be kind of like a sleazy move on my part and not like, not, you know, but that kind of make, even though if they donated money, it would feel kind of like I'm robbing them then. So I don't want to do that. I mean, now if I might not enjoy it, it depends. If it's something where I know other people are really going to enjoy, then I would, and a lot of people, then I might go through it, especially if it was like a one-time thing. I might do it anyway to kind of, you know, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Get kind of, it depends how much I didn't enjoy it. If it was like, okay, it was kind of tedious, but then people really wanted it, then I feel like I would kind of deliver for everyone who had given me something, you know? But I mean, I can kind of drift back and forth which video I'm working on. So, but I am going to try to make that good for people. I mean, the way I see it is, if for me to not owe you, and the other thing is, I do get emails from people that they'll tell me. In fact, I need to reply to a lot of them. That they'll tell me that like they really appreciated these videos when they were having a hard time. I'm saying, well, those emails always make me think like, oh God, I always feel kind of bad that I haven't gotten more out for them. If that's the other feeling. And it's not through a lack of trying, it's just I haven't cracked the code for getting videos out faster without losing the quality on them. But again, the other thing is I mean, if for me to not owe you more videos, I basically would have to tell everyone to stop donating, and that's it. I'm done. And then I would feel like, okay, anything after that, then sure, you were warned. You know, but you know, I'm not nearly at that point. I mean, I need to. I mean, the only thing I'm going to do along those lines is I really will take a hiatus for like a month or two to really get the foundation up and running full steam on the movie. And then once I feel like I can kind of comfortably make progress like every single day on it because the pipeline's finally nailed down, then I can slowly go back to making the regular videos. So I am willing to risk that, and I'll announce it to people too. But because, yeah, I'm not kidding on the movie. Like, I have to get that made. So even if that means burning off a chunk of my fan base, fine. I'll be more at peace doing that than not. So, and I'm just trying to like wind down on these damn videos, which I'm like a year late on. And I say damn videos. I mean, I think they would be good and more fun if I wasn't always also trying to get other stuff done. That's what it is. It's too many things coming at me that I have to just nail down, just get more off the board there. So, but yeah, I kind of feel like I do owe you more videos. I mean, a lot more. So I'm still kind of see, I didn't get to it yet. I need to do more research because I'm thinking with getting the videos out faster, one thing that would help would be if to have like, yeah, I might be aiming too high here, but have like an AI intelligently try to balance levels on some of the dialogue. Because I am getting help with that, but I mean, last time that kind of backfired, so I wanted a sort of a backup plan for that. Yeah, it's more like the more sort of tedious technical things I can get out of the way, like that helps the video without losing quality on them. That helps the videos come out faster and it helps my morale. So that's not the aspects of it I enjoy is going through. Yes, that's another thing. I don't know if it's my setup or just how I talk or whatever, but pretty much any recording, they'll probably, like in any given episode, there's probably a couple hundred what I would call micro clicks. So it's not like a real loud like click, but it's like, say I'm talking and say I'm not even saying a word with like a K sound or click clack or anything like that. Say I'm saying something like spoon. Well, no, an S can get some clicks. What would be, what's the word with that? Mellow. Yeah, mellow. So say you say the word mellow, and then right in the E sound, there's like just this tiniest like little click sound, and I have to go through and kind of filter that manually. And if I were to just run like a rough like click cleanup filter, one, it's so subtle it might miss it, and two, that can kind of lower the quality on the other things. So uh, that's one aspect of like tiny technical things I deal with. And volume balancing, I am getting help on, though I still have to do some of it. I had to do a lot more in the last episode, but I think hopefully that was a one-off. Let's see. I don't know, just some, well, I'm finally nailing down some stuff with the video process. That was more bugs I was dealing with, but saying, what do you usually normalize or loudness normalize your vocal audio to? Oh, I just keep the volume. I don't have a setting. I just turn the knob down until I say something loud that I think is probably about as loud as I'll get. And I'll make sure that doesn't spike above 100%. And then what it is I'll do, I'll mix the whole episode. And then at the end, once everything's kind of proportionally right, then I'll change the balance to 100%. I mean, normalize it to 100%. So it's about at the maximum that it should be. Yeah, like I really hate volume clipping. I try to avoid that, but yeah, okay. So I'm getting off track again, but yeah, I need to put aside time to research like if there are AI solutions for like taking more of the drudgery out of the recording and audio editing and see how effective it is and if it comes at a cost of some emphasis, that sort of thing. So okay, more questions. Do you have any more fun stories about Metal Dave or other colorful characters from your life? Well, for Metal Dave, I mean, I think I told most of them in the Go to Hell episode. I do remember what, this is just a small thing, but I do remember when, I don't know if it was like the radio playing or like a mix somebody had when he was listening to it, that he just stopped and says, like, is that Fear Factory? Could that be Fear Factory? Like he was saying it in such a way that like he had heard Fear Factory like so many times that to hear it again was just almost like an insult to him or something. So that's how deep he was at the metal at the time. I don't know. It was like this nuance to it, to his voice. I never followed up on it. Let's see. I remember this wasn't really about him, but I remember when he would get in for the shift earlier before this other girl that was working there at the print shop, and then she'd realize he's there, and he had basically already staked out the stereo or the music we're going to be listening to, and I could see her face just kind of be like, you know, like it's like, all right, more heavy metal shift, you know. Like I don't think she hated heavy metal, but it certainly wasn't her preferred pick at the shop. Um, let's see. So it's asking the demo beta for XF Drive. Oh no, I haven't. I guess I can look into that. It's an Outrun clone maybe. But Yeah, I was thinking I do have a lot of stories, but the problem is, I mean, I don't think too many of them are incriminating for me, but my parents still or my mother, I guess, will sometimes listen to these chats, and like I never know which ones. So some of these things I don't really want to. I don't really want the follow up conversations. Like, you never told me that. Like, you should have done something. You should have stopped them from doing that. Like, I kind of don't want to have those conversations. So that culls out a lot of the stories, I'm afraid. But ones I remember, there was a guy I knew that got arrested for, I think, I forget, I used to know, but it was over 100 miles an hour. He was doing that on this hilly road in a 25-mile-per-hour zone, and a cop happened to be just right there. And it was like, yeah, oh yeah, that was it. He was right there, and because it was a little hilly, the cop actually clocked him in midair. It was easily over 100. I don't remember if it was like 115 or maybe higher. I don't. So it. I remember that was he got arrested for that. I think he did some jail time, but yeah. And this is the same guy. I knew him through Boy Scouts. Like, he did a lot of. He would always just come prepared for just various pranks, and they would get pretty extreme. Like, I think one of the tamer ones he did was he would, like, we had a camp. Like, he set up like this fishing line as basically tripwires around the camp to try to get people to fall down when they were walking around in between trees. You know, I'm trying to think of like ones that aren't going to give me a big trouble talking about it, because they're just gonna. Because I mean, some of the stuff he. Have you ever had like, I don't know if I go so far to call him a friend, but more like someone. I was a willing audience member for a lot of the stuff he was doing, because I mean, he was kind of psycho, but a lot of his prank. Have you ever had a friend where, you know, they want to do a prank or something funny where you personally think, okay, this is way too much. Like, I'm not doing this because we're gonna get huge trouble if we do this. However, if your friend's determined to do that, hell yeah, you're gonna watch, like, because this is kind of fascinating entertainment. And yeah, I was never really like friends with him, but yeah, he was certainly happy as an audience member for me witnessing the stuff he was doing. Yeah, some of it's very illegal, but it tended to be pretty funny. So it was. I'm trying to think of like some like safer examples. Okay, yeah, another safe example was at one point, like in Scouts, they were making breakfast, and he was involved in making the pancakes, and he spiked them all with way too much salt. Yeah, that's a tame example of the stuff he was doing. Like I don't think he did anything that would have gotten anybody like killed, but he was definitely like pushing boundaries big time. So yeah, I was thinking of him for some of the comments in Freeman's Mind, I think. But yeah, he's just like an extreme prankster. Okay, I should. Do you know what happened to that guy? I actually looked him up like a year back to see if I could find anything up. Yeah, apparently he's just living on a farm somewhere. He seems kind of manic as ever. Like, so I guess he got out. Because yeah, actually, my dad had a good comment about him, that he was saying, because for a while he was working as a tow truck driver. And my dad had comments saying, yeah, it's a shame he lost that job, or he isn't working anymore, because that was something where he could be productive where he could be like productive to society while still pissing people off. because yeah, I imagine that might have been like a dream come true for him, like being able to tow somebody's car while they're running out chasing after you, and he's just laughing. So, uh, Yeah, so sorry. I'm gonna have to kind of keep a lid on some of these, or think of like some other like tamer stories that. Yeah, yeah. And for the record, like you may not think it from me doing these video chats, but I'm absolutely someone who can keep a secret. Like if it's important for me to keep it, like that never leaves me. So I've noticed some people don't have that ability, but for me, it's kind of like if this is really important that that this like never comes out light. Yeah, I can shut up despite despite me talking a lot, you know. So in this case, it's nothing like this again. Like it's nothing like horrible, but it's more like I just don't want to have that conversation with my mother later. So let's see. Lost my place. Oh yeah, this is one I didn't really have a great answer for. Or the chat might have had as many good answers as I do. What is an idea, concept, or lesson that you wish developers would learn or stop doing when designing a game? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that like really bugs me. That like it's because even in the example of what I talk about, like tinting or lacking features, I get the feeling that's really just a poor management thing, where they see these small but big quality of life improvements as not important, and so they just skip them. I know for the longest time the field of view thing was a bigger deal because even PC ports, they would design it for console, and then there would be no thought given to the PC port whatsoever. And like I remember Borderlands was kind of like that with the field of view, that it was just way too zoomed in. Or yeah, the original Dead Space. I think it might have gotten patched later, but like I remember you couldn't remap the controls on that. Um, but I'm trying to think of stuff that like I've seen indie developers do that I kind of wish they wouldn't do that. Uh, Someone's saying stop online only dependence. Yeah, with me, that's you can almost assume that's an automatic, you know, or not even or just not even having an end of life plan. I'm not against requiring an online connection because there are reasons to have it. Like there, I'm not denying that, but it's having no end of life plan. That you can assume any game I'm talking about in any scenario. That's an assumption with me. So I was trying to think of like what else. But yeah, you know that point might need to get driven home more because, you know, I notice a lot of people make the distinction between single player and multiplayer. There's no reason an online multiplayer has to depend on that company's server so that the game dies for good once they stop supporting it. They could also have connect by IP address mode. And the thing is, you know, if I don't know. Yeah, well, I'm just being a dead horse for if you've been watching these. But yeah, I guess yeah, I remember on Twitter several months back they were I got into like a minor argument with this guy where it seemed like what I was saying, like having some way to run the game once support ends, it just struck him as just incredulous. Like what? You know, as in like I'm demanding all these unreasonable things. It's like, well, no, but then you shouldn't sell the game then. Yeah, you know, that's my attitude on it. I mean, I don't like seeing games die under any scenario, but if the game's completely free and then they shut it down, it's like, well, that sucks, and I kind of wish you didn't do it, but I mean, if you're not like actively kind of robbing people then. But if you're taking money and selling them a perpetual license, then yeah, it's just a lack of law enforcement on it, or rather the law examining it. You know, let's see if people have other. Okay, somebody's saying lack of separate sound sliders for music, speech, sound effects. Yeah, that's it. You know that's one that could be added for almost all of them. Yeah, yeah, that's. I've seen that. I remember Yeah, well, I haven't played it in a long time now, but I remember in Path of Exile, like I actively just disabled all sound effects because one of them was just sort of bugging me. But yeah, no. And sometimes the music can be good, or sometimes it's not so good, but you just get tired of it. But yeah, there's not enough music for the game, so you have to end up muting the music. Actually, that's a problem I've noticed, not in the next game dungeon, but the one I've been trying to get made is in the game. They do have a music, sound effects, and voice slider, but it's like the cutscenes ignore all of that. And they're not video cutscenes, they're like in-game rendered cutscenes. So it's because I was recording the footage and I was thinking, yeah, the music's coming through kind of loud. I should lower this, and then I lower it, and it's like it is just as loud. It didn't do anything. So game devs are overly reliant on do the same thing 3 times, disable the 3 power generators, sort of thing. Tedious. Yeah, there is a lot of that. That doesn't. But it depends on what it is that they're being asked to do 3 times. But okay, I know one. I don't know how much this is done on modern games, but I forgot to call it out in the Caboose 22 episode, showing well, like in the Caboose, at one point, you see the character getting shot multiple times by gunfire, and like, and then you go forward, and then there's a cutscene, and then like, bam, one shot from gunfire, they're dead. So it's like having, yeah, okay, yeah. Actually, that was conflating thoughts here. What I was really thinking was, don't give really strong incentives to do something a way the game won't let you. Like I was thinking, like in Resident Evil 3, how you kill the nemesis and it just lies there, and it's gonna come back. It's gonna keep coming back. So it's like you want to just cut its head off or something. You want to ensure it does not come back, but the game gives you no option for that. Or what? In Mage Knight Apocalypse, that one point where I was able to like friendly fire my team, I was saying, yeah, don't threaten me with a good time here. Yeah, I've seen that occasionally. Like, or, oh man, I know I've seen other examples of this where it's, yeah, where the game's practically screaming at you to have some feature that you want to do, but then doesn't let you do that. Unless it's like an intentionally antagonistic game. How antagonistic the game is like part of the fun. One of those, like I'm thinking of, like I Want to Be the Guy. Like on the hard mode, I've seen some of that where it's over the top with how much it's trying to like troll the player. But let's see. Trying to think of some others. But yeah, this is one I didn't. Again, there's so many different developers and styles, but I haven't seen really obvious trends where it feels like every game I play is doing this to jump out as anything obvious to me, or some development style that I absolutely hate that it just lingers in my mind. I don't know. I've seen a lot of decent games. So. And usually the ones I really don't like, it's usually not just one design decision. It's like cryptic. It makes me wonder what happened, So. Yeah, well, this one. Somebody's saying choose only one: finish, release your movie, or stop games from dying. Well, I mean, going to what would benefit the most amount of people, I'd have to go with stop games from dying, but I could pick another movie idea. I mean, I would be disappointed a lot, but that would be a good, millions would benefit from that, whereas I'm not even expecting that many to even see the movie. So okay, I'm gonna go some more. Okay, this one's asking about future Freeman's Mind stuff. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm gonna skip that. Sorry. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one. They're saying when they were a kid, a friend told them about the first XCOM game. He described it colorfully, and I imagined it in detail. And then when I finally got to play it, the game was great, but not at all what I imagined it to be. Have you ever had a situation when you imagine a game described to you in a certain way, but then it turned out completely different in the end? Yeah, once. Yeah, say not worse or better, just different. Yes, sort of. Stream terminated? Oh, okay. Somebody's saying it's back. Okay. Well, I was recording on this end, so it'll be on YouTube correctly. So, but yeah, you can spam the chat with like that if that happens. I don't know what happened. Well, actually, relating to the stream, uh, I was having problems. This is like a year or two back, where it seemed like sometimes the internet would disconnect for like a second or two. So if I had like an online only game, it would stall or else sometimes drop me. And it just seemed to happen kind of randomly, and it drove me kind of crazy. And what finally fixed it was I was assuming that because I was connecting to the internet, things were fine, but they weren't. What was happening was I was using the automatic drivers for my network adapter from Windows 10. And what ended up fixing it was me uninstalling those and putting in the specific ones for my motherboard. See, I got sloppy and then thought like, oh, well, the internet's working. I guess it's fine. I don't need to install the other driver. No, I did need to install the motherboard internet drivers, or network adapter drivers, and that's what fixed it. So that reminded me of that in case anybody ever runs into something like that. Stream still down. Okay, well here, let me look on my end. Yeah, no, I see myself. Okay, yeah, okay, and I can see myself. Okay, so blame it on Twitch. You can keep spamming if it keeps happening, though. I mean, just as an indicator, I don't know. I'm seeing the chat go tell me stream down. So, somebody's saying GTA 6 leaked again. Okay, maybe I'll check that out later. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Let's see. Oh yeah, so the game that I envisioned differently from how it was described. I listened to the soundtrack for Castlevania Symphony of the Night before I ever played it, or even knew what it looked like. I mean, I knew what old Castlevania looked like. I think what Super Castlevania looked like on Super Nintendo. But I mean, I heard that music, and I just couldn't even imagine what kind of game this was. Because that music is so good in it, and I was just like, it just didn't seem, because I knew it was for the PlayStation, so that meant they have more technology to throw at it. But I was thinking, what could this possibly be to have music like this? This is, I don't know. I forget exactly what I imagined, but it was just, it was like, I almost had the feeling like we didn't have the technology at the time to flesh out what I was thinking of. And I think I knew that at the time. I was thinking, well, I mean, God, like what could they be doing? And then when I finally played it, it's like, okay, it's like a pixel art, but really very well done kind of thing. So I don't know, that was just kind of different for me, like what I was imagining versus actually playing it. And I'm not seeing any chat updates, so that's might be a bad sign. Here, I'm gonna check the Twitch. Here, I'll just have, okay, I have a window for Twitch open. I'll just leave that off in the corner so I can see movement. And if it just freezes, then I'll know what's going on. So let's see. More questions. What federal crimes did Freeman commit in Black Mesa that you can list? What would the president need to pardon Freeman from in order for his record to be wiped clean by your estimation? Well, that's a complicated question. I actually learned not super long ago that the president can only pardon federal crimes. And usually something like murder is a state crime. However, Black Mesa might have been in its own special jurisdiction to be considered federal. I mean, murder's the big one. Because I think Freeman does do some murders in the first one, though. You can argue the majority of his kills are self-defense. However, once you're getting into the hundreds, I think I said before, like what I learned about law is that it's not just what the law says; it's also power. Power dynamics, and there's no way that's going to be accepted by you know establishment power that, oh, this person self-defended hundreds of soldiers working for the government. Like that's never going to be accepted anywhere. So 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 this thing, isn't Black Mesa Department of Energy property owned? Yeah, but it depends on how, like you can have a federal government facility, and if there's a crime there, that can still just be applicable to the state that it takes place in. Some facilities might have their own kind of special legal system, though. Like military facilities can be like that. So it depends. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I would think any vandalism they probably wouldn't press charges on. Him launching that rocket, that might be a big one. If the government considered that like terrorist activity or something like that. Um, the property destruction, I think though that wouldn't get chalked up to anything just because Black Mesa was a wreck. It was an emergency situation. It's the same for like taking weapons and supplies. It's in the chaos of everything else. It's too minor, I would think. I mean, it's not that the government wouldn't prosecute for that, but it's like given the circumstances, I don't think they would. But yeah, murder. It's just murder up and down is the problem. So let's see what else did I'm trying to think of like what else you did, and yeah, because you take down helicopters too. That yeah, I mean, yeah, you can charge with destruction of government property, but I mean, it would be why bother when you can get murder and terrorism charges? It's like who cares about the other charges then? So yeah, murder and terrorism charges. Depending on when Black Mesa Half-Life 1 takes place, that could be before the Patriot Act. So he would have an easier time with the charges then, where they could just they could lock him up in a cell and throw away the key with no trial post Patriot Act. So it's yeah. But yeah, that's the main one I'm thinking of. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Broke the government property. I mean, I guess if there's like really major damage, they might press him with that. But I'm trying to think if he did anything at Black Mesa. I'm trying to remember if he did anything that was like really destructive. That wasn't. I mean, they were bombing the place. So I mean, they would have to show that this was something that, he did above and beyond destruction that they wouldn't have. That couldn't be. So I'm saying, would war crimes be on the table? I don't really think so. I mean, he wasn't. Let's see. Did the Freeman kill? Oh yeah, that's right. I had him shoot Barney. Yeah, that one time they surprised him. Yeah, I guess you could go with manslaughter for that one, or because that was an act, or like third degree murder, depending on what the state is, or something like that. Where he did, yeah, I think that would be manslaughter for the one with Barney, because he didn't mean to kill him. He didn't mean to kill him, and he didn't mean to harm him. It's just he startled him. He's like, and then at least from what I remember, I'd have to look at the part again. So, but yeah, once you have. Most people don't have deaths in the hundreds. Once you have that, you can kind of ignore the rest of the charges. And also, this was a black ops operation against him anyway, so there's not really, the charges, the prosecution of them, and the evidence are all gonna be kind of whatever the government wants it to be. So Freeman's not gonna get a fair trial. Like it's he can either accept he can accept his offer or he can die pretty much, or his options. So I mean, it's I mean, it would be an interesting thought experiment to see like what charges he'd be under, but it's yeah, I think if that was to actually happen, like this would not be a court case thing. This would just be a apprehend him and this and or kill him, So, uh, when you emulate a game, do you ever strive to use the original controller? No, I never really bother with that. I guess. I mean, I haven't really done any of it, but I guess for some games that have motion controllers, that would be worth trying to have a comparable motion controller. You could probably, yeah, actually have one right here. You could probably have like a VR motion control that would be about as good as like what you have like a Wiimote, or I guess does the Switch have motion controls? I think I read it does. So, but I mean, for me, I mean, yeah, there are differences, but one gamepad's typically all right for me compared to another. I mean, there are weird exceptions. Like I'm thinking back to, was it the Angry Video Game Nerd? He's shown. I remember he had the Neo Geo X controller where it was almost like a arcade controller, but on a big slab that you hold on your lap, or it looked a little awkward. And there was another system he had, I forget which one, but it was almost like a remote control that was awkwardly held. I forget which one that was. The chat might know which one I'm talking about. So let's see. There's somebody saying, I think you missed the question starting with choose only one. I had not seen that. However, oh no, you're right. I already covered that. No, I didn't miss it. You missed it. Okay. Yeah, and they're saying that I'm also not one to strive for total authenticity, they've noticed. Yeah, that's true. I just go with whatever I think is the best experience. Like, I did play emulated, was it Serious Sam The Next Encounter? And I used gamepad emulation on a mouse for that. It was janky, but I was able to go through it. And look, I had a better experience on that than I would have on pretty much any gamepad, because I am garbage with thumbsticks. Like I can only do like the basics with thumbsticks. Yeah, I mean, I guess for some games, like I don't play enough flight games to really warrant like a flight yoke or that sort of thing. But I mean that can enhance it, or steering wheel can be nice. So that can be kind of a hassle to drag out. I'd rather have a lot of stuff queued up then. Or yeah, I guess there's another. Oh, what was the name of that game? Was it like Steel Battalion? There was one game that had like a custom. Yeah, I think that was it. Steel Battalion, a custom controller made for it, where the idea being that it almost looks like a miniature flight panel you might expect for like a plane, except the idea is you're controlling a giant mech on it. I was thinking it's too bad there wasn't like a universal standard for that, where for any something where you have like the pedals and the flight sticks and just like all these buttons and switches and stuff, so that so that you could apply that for any sort of like sim game that might take advantage of that. It would I was thinking it'd be nice to have a standard for that, because some games, especially sim stuff, you can have like dozens and dozens of functions, where it is nice to have like a little switch for every little component on there. I don't play too many. I was going to say too many, but I realized I almost never play those kinds of games, or if I do, then I try to dumb it down as much as I possibly can for that sort of thing. Like at some point, I do want to play more train sim games in stereoscopic 3D, so like I'm actually there. But I don't want to learn how to be a conductor. I just want like the most bare bones, make the train go forward, brake, look around controls, and like that. That's it. So I'm not going to be playing it like a sim. I'm just going to be doing it for the 3D tour essentially. But yeah, I could see where having controls like that could really enhance things. But I mean, whatever you prefer with games. The controller doesn't do as much for me as long as like I feel like I have adequate control over the character. Obviously, if a gamepad's really glitchy, or in my case, my aiming with thumbsticks are garbage, so I need a mouse or maybe a motion controller for that, or an actual joystick, rather than a thumbstick. But yeah, as long as I can get the job done, I'm not super picky with it. So. Oh, I missed this one. Do you have a formula or structure that you use for your game dungeons that make it so captivating? Or does it just come naturally to you? Well, actually, that got discussed in a previous chat where it helped me kind of hone my thoughts more, although I didn't apply that so much to the Caboose episode. I felt like that one had. Yeah, I'm still kind of formulating it in my head how it works, but I realized Caboose was sort of a different flavor, or Caboose, or however it's pronounced, where the game had so many oddities to it that just kind of that I can almost get away with like just showcasing a lot of them, and like just kind of arranging it so that people can kind of see what's going on in this game. That if you're watching this and just going what then that's a feeling I also like in game dungeons. So this one that keeps getting delayed, this is one where it's like there's plenty of oddities. It's a big game. I'm gonna have to cut out huge chunks of it, but it shouldn't be a problem. But it's like there's so many scenes in it that just spark this like cascade of thoughts I'm having that I kind of want to bring up, and will make for interesting kind of discussion on it. So yeah, I'm trying to get more deliberate with Game Dungeon to the point where I'm gonna try to only cover games that are giving me like a real sense of like a train of thought I want to talk about that I hope people find entertaining. And then if there's other things in the game that are also funny, or jokes that come to me, then I'll have that too. But I'm realizing I can't rely on that too much. I need like sort of a core to do it. But no, I don't have a special formula. I've been trying to figure it out for years myself. So, um, I was asking, what are my all-time favorite line that I've come up with in Freeman's mind? I've probably forgotten so many, but one that stands. There's simpler things. Uh, One, I'm sure I'm not the first person to use this joke. Was in the original one, the scientist is hanging on. I say, okay, give me your hand. Wah! It's like, no, your other hand, you idiot. No, you idiot, you other hand. I don't know. I just really like that part. Again, it's kind of a dumb joke. It's been done before, but I liked it. And more recently, in Freeman's Mind too, I know I've done this once or twice before, but I forget the other lines. But I remember this one. I had to do a retake because I started laughing. And that's kind of rare for me because I'm pretty good. Like if I know I need to like perform a line that's funny, at like suppressing that for like short burst where like nothing will make me laugh. It's not that I don't find it funny. It's just I can sort of switch gears in my brain temporarily to turn that off and get the line done. But that one it kind of snuck through was in Freeman's Mind 2, where I said like, yeah, your dad just killed us. Like, like I loved it because it was sort of like all chaos unfolding because the Combine's outside shooting at you. You're in the airlock. It's busted. Eli's acting kind of confused. Alex is acting kind of confused. And you know how in like emergency situations, people always say like, "Oh, don't panic." Whereas as Freeman, I'm saying exactly. I'm saying like exactly the sort of thing that's going to induce more panic. And it's and the thing is like from his from his perspective, there was truth to that because they were trapped in this airlock. They couldn't get out, and there's people on the other side that want to kill them. So it's, and then he's, and then like I might have been exaggerating it in my mind, but I was remembering, like just Eli in that moment, kind of acted kind of, kind of like a stereotypical old person, like what, it's like wait, where did I put my glasses? He's just something where the casual like old person forgetfulness is so not what you want to see for a extremely urgent emergency situation. But yeah, I remember that part. Just I don't know, that part made me laugh. Uh, in that one, your dad just killed us. Like it's just it. I'm a big fan of like kind of chaos breaking out, and that was the sort of thing if Freeman was saying it that would just like make it flare up even more, and cause panic. Panic and confusion. because because from Alex's perspective, you might be thinking like, okay, well, wait, is that true? Why would he do that? Or she's confused about the connection Freeman's jumping to for him to say that, and just in the midst of all the chaos, it would just uh, be. Let's see. Oh, somebody's saying the chat's frozen. The chat I don't think is frozen, but we are like 2 lines behind on the video. It's just how the formatting worked out this time. So I can see 2 lines ahead of where it is on the video. So, but yeah, there's probably better ones there that I just forgotten about. Or I actually remembered another one. It wasn't necessarily like my favorite line, but it's like in the context I liked it, where like in Half-Life 1, I was like, I was stumbling on the steps while there were like trip mine, whether were trip mine lasers on there. Like I was almost going to lay it on, and I just started screaming. And I said, "Oh, I guess this is how old people feel about stairs." Like, it's like, well, maybe not quite that extreme, but I like that mentality. So. Yeah. I kind of like people genuinely overreacting to like small things, and it was sort of, um, it was sort of painting that picture from how he was saying it. Even though a trip mine is not a small thing, but old people reacting to stairs and screaming at that level would be. So, um, what do you feel is different of the European gaming scene compared to North America? Saying trending game genres, style of games, common design philosophies, general attitude of gamers, and gaming in general, etc. Someone else could probably answer this better than I could. I mean, I would say with indie games now, it's everybody doing everything. I mean, because but I mean, I guess what this reminded me of is I remember, years back, when Morrowind came out, that was a US game, and I had played Gothic before that. Although I think Gothic might have come out afterwards, though. Let me see. And Gothic was a more European RPG, and Morrowind was the American style. Okay, when did Morrowind come out? Morrowind was 2002. When was Gothic? Oh, Gothic came out first. Okay, 2001. So yeah, and I like, honestly, Gothic kind of spoiled the Elder Scrolls for me. So because I don't know, I just liked it better. Whereas like in Morrowind, it was more open ended. You could sort of choose more what you wanted to do and that thing, but it kind of felt like more sort of artificial and modular to me. Whereas Gothic kind of felt like its own world to me. And yeah, you were following like a more of a set path in the storyline, and you didn't have as much freedom as you did in something like Morrowind, but I felt like the characters behaved more believably. The landscape felt more believable. The combat was still pretty janky. I mean, it was kind of janky on both, really. But it was, let's see. Well, the Morrowind theme's good, but I mean, I like the music I like better in Gothic. Though the Morrowind theme's pretty good. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not like, I think the stereotypes are more that American games would like have more action and like dumb down things more. European games might be more janky, but then have like more complex stuff. Japanese games would have a lot more like anime influences. They would be a lot more polished, but they could also be like brutal and difficulty. Were some stereotypes. Uh, like for RPGs, Japanese w- w- games would tend to have like a much more kind of rigid definition of and certain beats they wanted to hit for an RPG that other game or RPGs in other parts of the world didn't necessarily have. But again, now it's everybody doing everything because I'm sure there are 100% American games that you would never guess they're not from Japan, you know, from looking at them and the styling and that sort of thing. And that probably crosses over to like every continent now. Or so I was saying Eastern European games can have a lot of jank. Yeah, they can. They definitely can. I mean, Stalker's probably one of the more better known ones, and it has some jankiness to it, and it's one of the more polished ones. So they definitely get a lot clunkier. So yeah, but I'm not overly familiar with like what the more obvious trends were from them, like historically. So somebody else has probably covered that much better than I would know too. Uh, oh yeah, okay. This was an interesting question. They're saying seems like years of corporate propaganda, gaslighting have paid off for the gaming industry. Do you think there's any way to reverse this, trying to help people actually care about being ripped off, and actually have consumer rights? And they give like a couple links here, and the headline is saying U.S. children want subscriptions and currency for Christmas, not games. However, I read, I'll put that in the chat there, maybe put in the description. Let me make a note here. However, I read through that, and they mention in the article it is unclear where digital game sales fall under this. So it's possible this isn't even a real trend because they report how physical game sales have gone way down. Well, then if people still want to buy digital copies, I mean they're still wanting to buy the game. And for the other thing, I think this is less about brainwashing in this particular, but let's say for sake of argument that's true. Like most kids want subscriptions or currencies. I need to check if there's a couple of things there. One, for the currency stuff, that's probably gonna be for just like a couple like juggernauts, like probably like Fortnite. I think the other one they mentioned was Apex Legends. So if it's the sort of thing where they're mostly just playing this one game or one or two games, and that's pretty much all they spend time on, well, then it kind of makes sense they would just want stuff for that game. And they're not that interested in other ones, which, I mean, that's not something, you know, unique to kids. I mean, plenty of adults, they just play a couple of games and that's their game, you know? I mean, that's fine. I obviously like to dip my toe in a lot of different areas and see a wide variety of games, but I mean, if you really enjoy the hell out of a game, yeah, why not? But somebody's saying Roblox. Yeah, it's true. I hadn't thought of that one. I forgot about that. The see, that could be another like juggernaut title where it's not really this is a trend. It's more like this game succeeded in the marketing, so that's what the kids know. Uh, for others, yeah, for subscriptions, that one's weird because that could just mean they want a Game Pass subscription or something like that, where they figure, well, if I'm going to get one present, I might be taking a real gamble on just getting this one game. Because if I get this, I could rent all these games for like this amount of time. And while I am extremely wary of Game Pass because I think it's kind of a Trojan horse for Microsoft to kind of get more entrenched in the industry so that there's more of a dependence on it, then they'll raise prices or tighten or have exclusives for it, that sort of thing down the line. I'm not against just, yeah, it's, I'm not against rentals as an option. I mean, that goes back, geez, like the 80s at least. I mean, that, like, you know, they don't want to gamble on a game. So if they're getting a present, if they can get like a 3-month subscription or whatever, well, then they could go through, you know, depending on how good the games are, how much they game, maybe 20 games or something like that. Whereas if they just ask for one or two and it ends up being a dud, I can understand that logic to it. So I mean, I'm sort of at the other end of the spectrum where I basically don't do any rental stuff, and I do buy games, but I'm buying cheap. I mean, I go real cheap, so it's not. I'm probably getting a similar, if not more, amount of games as the subscription people. It's just that the games I'm getting are probably a lot older or off the beaten path more. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't see this as necessarily. Well, I mean, yeah, if that's all they know, then that's unfortunate. But I mean, I see this as less the problem as enforcing the law on it. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, you know, I mean, I want kids to like what they're interested in, but it's just I don't want them getting robbed either, you know. So it's like coming at it from the approach like saying like, oh no, you shouldn't like that game because it does this. Well, that's gonna be meaningless to a kid. Like they want to play the game, you know. They're not the time scale I'm talking about for the game being shut down. That's gonna be an eternity for them, you know. So it's a tricky thing, but and this is if it's even happening. If that article was put out and they're counting and they're not counting digital game sales in the figures or counting them on the other figure, well then all the data is null and void. This isn't even a thing then. But it just depends, or maybe only for certain demographics. It's hard to say. Let's see. Okay, some more questions. Oh yeah, well, they're asking. You mentioned a couple years ago that your mother listens to these chats while doing chores like folding laundry. Have you ever gotten a reaction to her regarding your replies to various topics? Sometimes, although she'll sometimes react to the Game Dungeon videos. I tell her to not watch certain episodes, but sometimes she does anyway. And then she kind of goes through these cycles where it's almost like a dice roll between my mother and I, where like some episodes that I think like, oh, she's not gonna like this, but whatever, I'm making the video, and then she has no problem with it. And then others that's like I thought were safer, she has a huge problem with it and wants to have like a big talk with me about it, and it is fearful for my spirit or morality or something, and it just I'm she's never gonna get me fully, I think. So, and then the what say yeah, they're asking. In short, has there ever been a call afterwards going, I can't believe you said that, or your reasoning is so insightful? That last part, I'm not sure she's ever, maybe I'm forgetting something. I'm not sure she's ever said that to me about anything, that my reasoning was so insightful. I mean, she's made it, like, she's made it clear that she doesn't think I'm hopeless. So that's something, but it's, like, I'm not sure I think it's been incredibly rare that I've impressed my mother with anything. Uh, in fact, I remember. Well, she probably won't want me telling this, but whatever. She if she's gonna stick her nose in my business, I can do it in reverse. The When she visited for my wedding, like at sort of a reception thing, she got a little tipsy. She's not an alcoholic or anything like that, but she just had been much. And I remember some comment came up where she was talking about my friends and was talking about one of my friends saying he's smarter than me. I said like, yeah, well, yeah, I guess could be. And then she like doubles down and says, no, really, he is smarter. Like, and like, it just kind of cracked me up. Like, as I'm thinking, yeah, thanks, mom. Like, I mean, he might. I think it's the sort of thing where the friend she was talking about probably definitely is in some ways, but intelligence isn't always an equal thing, an across the spectrum thing. Like I get the feeling I might have a few more like wisdom points than the friend she was talking. Because this friend I'm talking about, he was like the valedictorian for his class, like, and yeah, he came to visit for my wedding. But he's also someone who is sort of like perpetually, sort of like trying to find himself. I think so. But it's not. But even that, it's like I don't really care. That's not really the basis of our friendship. It's just so we have similar interests and find can have good conversations about things. Uh, even if my mother were to like, even if she thought just had like no faith in me at all, that wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be crushed by it. I'd be like, all right, whatever. So it's yeah, somebody's saying they were valedictorian. It means nothing. Well, no, put it like this: he's a genius when it comes to pharmaceuticals. I'll say that. Like I would trust him with my life in terms of like knowing correctly what substances do what for something. Uh, but it's yeah. My mother and I, it's like what I found is we tend to get along as long as we're not around each other more than about a day. And then after that, it's just like we just inevitably butt heads. And like, even if I'm really trying to like get out of her way for things, I don't know. I think it's just like a raw personality clash or something where, I mean, like even now, like it's, uh, like I mean, it's probably more complicated than this, but she tends, from my perspective, she has kind of like a controlling aspect, and then from I tend to not like to be controlled. Not that I'm like a rebel or anti-establishment or something. It's more like something needs to make sense to me on some level, and if it doesn't, then I don't have much respect for it. And uh, so it's not the being told what to do, but it's like being told what to do, and there's a good reason for it that I perceive that way. So I don't know. Well, I shouldn't get too much in my own personal life, but no, she is not. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think she's ever said your reasoning is so insightful from anything I've said on the chats. She may not have said anything like that ever. To me, I'm not sure. I could be forgetting. They've been few and far between. Though that said, when she has given me compliments, they carry a lot more weight then. And both her, I think my uncle, maybe somebody else, have all said to me that I'm adaptable. So I have to assume there's some truth to that. So apparently my adaptability is higher than average. Because if she's given me a compliment, she probably really means it. So. Uh, let's see. Okay, chat, here's a question for you. What are some games you maintain are fantastic and never got their due? I was thinking about this, and it's like, I feel like the games that really are fantastic kind of do have recognition, and it tends to be really rare that a game that's like pretty amazing just doesn't get attention. What's more likely is games that are like pretty good, or yeah, that game's all right, that don't get seen so much. Okay, somebody's saying Jet Set Radio. Well, that one got a sequel. That one has kind of a cult following, and now it's getting like a spiritual successor. So I guess it depends on what you mean by it's due. You know, so I'm saying I think the game Rage 1 didn't get its due. I have not heard of Rage. Oh, Rage. Yeah. Well, that got plenty of attention. I mean, I thought Rage was like okay. I mean, it didn't really blow me away. It was okay. Body Harvest. I'm not familiar with that one. That's for Nintendo 64. Let's see if I can see some screenshots. Yeah, the light contrast is a bit different. Yeah, I haven't even heard of Body Harvest, or if I have, I completely forgot about it. So yeah, that sounds like a candidate. Um, Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 had a horrible start. Somewhat janky updates. Like I don't know. I mean, you can't say they didn't have their chance, but yeah, because I was trying to think. I thought of one, but then I guess I forgot. Well, actually, for I kind of felt that way about Killing Time. I mean, it's not the. Somebody's saying System Shock. Well, System Shock got a sequel. It's got a remake, and it's basically spawned the BioShock series and was inspiration for stuff like what Arx Fatalis and Prey and Dishonored and stuff. So yeah, but the what was I lost my train of thought. Yeah, with Killing Time, I had never seen a first-person shooter of that era with that kind of level design, and it had good atmosphere. A lot of the music was kind of good. I mean, it was like a real predecessor to like Clive Barker's Undying, and it's like I had only like heard it once or twice, whereas instead that should have been like, I mean, it's not best game ever, but that to me that strikes me as like a real mainstay game that like really noteworthy game. I was pleasantly shocked by that one, that it had so much going for it. So I'm saying LSD Dream Emulator. I've heard people mention that one multiple times, but yeah, that one's not super well known. Amorphous Plus. I'm saying a free Flash game. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. Let's see. Let's take a bit to load. Let's see. So I'm saying the Civilization games. No, I mean the Civilization has a cult following. I mean, especially it was like I think 5 was the one that got a lot of attention. Oh. Okay, well, it should. That's right. I have one of the windows hiding the clock. It should. Okay. Yeah, more questions. Have you listened to the new Davis X soundtrack remix album by Alexander Brandon and I never know how to pronounce his name, Michiel von den Boss? Yeah, I did. It you know, I one comment I left out of, I think I did leave it out of the Davis X episode, was that the music wasn't perfect, but it was so good that trying to improve upon it, I think would increase the odds of not really pulling it off and making it worse overall. And I say this with the absolute respect to them and their works. I wasn't so impressed by the remix album compared to the original. It felt like some things were better, but like some things felt weaker. Like more things felt weaker to me. So I mean, it's not. Again, I have a lot of respect for the music, but it might have been the sort of thing where like they were trying to like get lightning. They hit the same place twice, and it was too hard to pull off. And they it's the sort of thing where they might have better luck just making more original, more more original compositions, for something new, or they might be able to just kind of sync with it better than like trying to retrace their steps on it. Because I don't know it, the because I think the original one, I like how distinctive the notes are, and even though parts of it are kind of clunky, it's like it's real tricky to smooth that out without losing the impact that the original has. So. Alexander Brandon come in on the Game Dodge episode. Oh, okay. I either missed that or I forgot about it, but I did get to talk to him when on Tom White's channel, Weird Video Games. Tom invited me on to appear, so yeah, I got to have an interview with him, or interviewed him, with Tom. So yeah, that was a highlight. Let's see here. I'll link to that in the. Let's see, what was the other thing I was... Oh, yeah, the kid stuff. I'll link to that in the YouTube description. Oh, somebody had an analysis of the Deus Ex soundtrack by Simon Zinzowski. I don't know who that is, but I mean, Deus Ex soundtrack's not perfect, but man, the highs hit so high for me, so... Okay. Well, here, I'll answer this quick just because I saw in the chat. They're saying, what are your thoughts on Half-Life as a series? Well, I have to rely on my memory before making Freeman's Mind because, again, I burned out my... Like, it's just, I look at it differently now. So I'm just going by my memory. My memory was the first one was pretty awesome and really had that... There wasn't much like it when it came out. Had a combination of things. I think even now, it still has that feeling of like, you're perpetually trying to escape from the threat and make progress. The second one felt a lot more gamey to me, and I remember that one got overhyped to just the moon and back when it came out. I think it got kind of overhyped in my opinion. But I mean, it's a good game. But I personally like the first one better. And I guess I see episode 1 and 2 is just kind of more of 2. And I haven't played Alex yet, so. Let's see. Oh yeah, chat, feel free to suggest stuff here. You can only take 5 games with you to a desert island. What are the 5? Well, I guess what I'm gonna want are games that that I haven't played, I'm interested in, and have a whole hell of a lot of replay value or just incredibly long. So not just being long, but they have to be something I'm interested in too. And I think for sure I would add Project Zomboid to the list because I think that checks all the boxes. Haven't played it. I could probably has a ton of replay value, and it'll probably last me a good long time. I was struggling to think of the others. I might actually. I was trying to think of like the biggest games I'm interested in because I was thinking maybe Cyberpunk, but I realized, Cyberpunk, I'm sure it's a huge game, but I bet it's the sort of thing where I'm going to know like every single alley in the game, probably like after a week of playing it. So it might not really get the long haul. Okay, somebody's saying Factorio. I was considering that. I played a little bit of Factorio, didn't quite get into it, but maybe I needed to throw more time at it. I could see that one having potential. And what was that 3D one? It's Satisfactory, I think. That might be another candidate along those lines. Somebody's saying Minecraft. I played Minecraft. I'm sure it's different now, but I played Minecraft like years back. I sort of got my fill of it. Somebody's saying Kerbal Space Program. That's not my kind of game, Kerbal Space Program. That sounds like a game you want to play if you want to work at NASA. I don't really want to work at NASA. So, It would feel too much like school or homework for me. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is curious because that one maybe because that one has a lot of replay value. It's enormous. I do not like turn-based combat, but I don't like it because I feel like it's just holding up everything, and that's kind of the boring part. But if I'm stranded, I kind of want something to just take as much of my time as possible and really draw it out. So maybe I could warm up to that, if I'm stuck. And then it's an enormous game because yeah, under normal circumstances, no, I wouldn't play without like a lot of mods to just speed the combat way the hell up. But other than that, that is the sort of game I would be interested in. So yeah, maybe. Uh, I was thinking maybe Elden Ring because that's supposed to be pretty huge, but I'm not sure how much you're not sure how huge, but that might be a candidate. Let's see. Okay, somebody's saying I pronounced the composer Michiel. Okay, Michiel. Oops, paused it. Okay, somebody's saying Factorio is a drug. Okay, that's another. I remember somebody else saying Noita had a lot of replay value, but I'm not sure if we're talking Desert Island replay value. And of course, I mentioned before, sort of off the beaten path answer. It's not the best game by any means, but the replay value is immense. Would be well, it's called Forge. It's basically a third-party software to basically play Magic the Gathering against the computer, and you could have any deck. The AI's all right, yeah, so basically unlimited Magic the Gathering games. Again, it's not my favorite, but that would have a lot of replay value. So let's see. So a lot of these games don't make the vanilla only cut. Well, I could take a mod with me, I mean, I just don't think it could be an online game because if it's online, then, I can call for help. So we're saying Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, maybe. I'm not huge in the Westerns, though. RimWorld. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of like a space management thing. Jedi Fallen Order. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. And I think I heard that had that like Souls-like combat, so Black Mesa. No, Black Mesa would be way too short for Desert Island. And plus, I played it. Elite Dangerous. That's an online-only game. So, saying or No Man's Sky. Well, I feel like No Man's Sky. I mean, the check and tell me, the vibes I'm getting from it are kind of similar to what I get from a lot of Bethesda games, where it seems like it's cool and there's all this neat stuff, but it's gonna feel hollow fast. That's just the vibe I'm getting from it. So, like even with all the improvements. So. Cybertruck is out. Any opinions on that? No, not really. I don't even have a car at this point, let alone like a high-end vehicle. So. Okay, somebody's saying The Sims 3. I'm not huge into this. If I was more into The Sims, I would. That would be a great candidate because you'd have all kinds of replay value with The Sims games. But it's like I'm not that interested in it. Let's see. So, well, I don't know if that's Outer Worlds. Well, one, I've already played Outer Worlds, and two, that's no, that you would burn through that in a few days. I mean, that's nothing. No, you need the real long haul. 7 Days to Die, maybe. Like I haven't played enough of it to know like what's there beyond just building a shelter and surviving against the zombies. I mean, you could say the same for Project Zomboid, but Project Zomboid, it just sort of feels different to me. Like it feels more like I'm watching this live character almost from what I've seen. What about Paradox games? Okay, now that's a thought. I'm not really interested in Crusader Kings or Europa Universalis, but Stellaris, maybe a really big 4X space themed game, space sci-fi or fantasy game. Yeah, maybe. City Skylines, I feel like I don't know, I'm not city management schemes I kind of have to like kind of get into. I have to like the theme a lot, the mechanics. I'm mostly interested in city skylines for letting other people build great cities, and then I can run around in VR in them. That's kind of what I want out of that game. Sandbox games like Gmod. No, I found that I'm not big in the sandbox game stuff because those tend to make me think like of other things I'd rather be doing than that have like a little more tension, like making a new video for people to watch, or like again working on the movie, or just some of my own personal projects, like trying to come up with a music sorting system, or like this AI stuff I'm messing with. I kind of like having goals that the game's making me care about more rather than open sandbox stuff. Though, I mean, sometimes I can come up with my own goals for it, and that's satisfying enough. Like usually, like exploration on a map can be one, but Jedi Knight Jedi Academy is pretty replayable. I've played both of those, and I remember them being good, but kind of straightforward campaign experiences. I mean, a straightforward campaign could work if it's just enormous. That's why I said Baldur's Gate 3 might be a candidate. Like, okay, I'm curious now. I'm going to how long to beat for Baldur's Gate 3. I'm just let's see what it weighs in at. Okay, well, I thought it'd be longer. They're saying main story 55 hours, main and extra 103 hours, completionist 144. I thought it'd be bigger. I thought it'd be more actually. So maybe, but see, there's going to be replayability among that because it sounds like you can just go a lot of different ways. So you could turn that. You could probably quadruple that number, no sweat, and octuple it without getting too much repetition. Is my understanding of it, with making it like a lot of different decisions. Okay, well, those. Well, somebody's saying they do not recommend Starbound. Well, too late. I played through the campaign of Starbound, so but I didn't really do it sandbox style. I just kind of played the campaign. So yeah, I thought it was all right. Yeah, somebody's saying sitting down and gaming and getting the I could be doing something better feeling is the worst. Yeah, and see, like the best is when like the game is so good it's like consuming your thoughts when you're not playing it. Those are the best ones. So okay, more questions. Okay, I might skip some. Again, someone's asking which game must get a sequel. I'm not sure, although I mean, you never know what you're gonna get with a sequel. That's some sort of thing I have to really think about, like which ones I would like really want to get a sequel, because they can always screw it up. So you want one that it's gonna be difficult to screw up. You know, do you do you think about playing old games to Game Dungeon that are more user friendly, like Freedom Fighters 2003, for example? Or is it because it's a well-covered game and you won't touch on those titles? No, I actually am planning to do a well-covered game. Probably not in the next two, but like maybe the third Game Dungeon from now. This might be a well-known one. It's sort of floated to the surface for me. So, no, that's not really what I base it on. It's just even if a bunch of people covered, well, one, I didn't know a lot of people did cover Freedom Fighters. I remember that one kind of being a little bit more off the beaten path, but I mean, I gave it a mention in the Division episode. The what? The no, that doesn't factor into it at all. It's just it's how what do I have to say about it? And a lot of games, if a bunch of people have covered them, unless I feel like I'm seeing something a lot of people just haven't brought up, which was the case in the Deus Ex episode, then I'll probably just pass on it. But it's no, it doesn't really have to. Whereas if it's a game nobody's heard of or very few, then I feel more inclined to talk about it because then I'm not saying something everybody's heard before. This could be the first time they've heard about the game, even. So it'll, that's going to be the defining theme of whether it gets a game dungeon or not is having something to say about it. You know, I don't want to bore people. Okay, this is oh yeah, this is a good one. It's saying in many role-playing games that have a morality or karma system, dialogue branches and character options usually feel strange and extreme. And I haven't played it, but I know of it. They're saying Knights of the Old Republic 2 is an example. Fairly early in the game, there's an encounter your character has with essentially a desk clerk for the bad faction, and your dialogue options come down to please let us be diplomatic. It would be oh so good of you to do so, and if you don't let me through, I will kill you where you stand. And depending on which option you choose, you'll be netted dark side or light side points. And they say they love the game, but they acknowledge how it's strange. They stick out. Yeah, it does feel kind of unnatural and what it does feel. It does feel kind of weird. You know, it's I'm not sure what Fable was another one that did that too. Yeah, and they mentioned Mass Effect and Fallout 3. Yeah, those all kind of have that feeling. I'm trying to think of one where like karma's done well. Okay, yeah, one that's sort of it wasn't karma exactly, but it felt more natural, even though the game has some campy stuff. What's it called? I think it's Alpha Protocol is the name of it. It's kind of this James Bond type thing, and you could approach different situations where you could either be like aggressive, like just try to cut to the chase as fast as possible, get violent or forceful if you have to. Another would be just sort of like kind of very professional and to the point, you know, just kind of neutral, not, you know, business up front. And the other was like more kind of playful and screwing around with them. And like I heard the inspiration for it was they were taking the styles of Jack Bauer, James Bond, and Jason Bourne. Yeah, three JBs. So it's and you can have very different reactions on that. And I like the idea of if you're coming through like really forcefully, like kind of insulting people along the way or making it, then I like the idea of like you getting a lot of blowback from that later. Whereas if you're more diplomatic, then that doesn't happen or that sort of thing. Or because yeah, I mean, most of the time you're not really. I mean, I would argue. I think the stats might even play this out. I mean, of course, some people are going to want this, but I'd argue the majority of gamers don't really want something where you're like overly evil and cold, unless it's like funny. You know, because I'm thinking of something like Overlord, where these sheep bouncing around in like just this overly exaggerated way, and you'd have like the goblins just go and devour them, and like if it's funny, I think a lot of gamers, or if it's just a game about being evil, yeah, some people will find that interesting, but I think it's going to be a minority. So it's like it makes sense to have things like where like if you want to have that element, have something where you're doing where there's a lot of mixed motivations on the line. Like say you're doing something evil, but it's for a greater goal that you might see this as necessary, you know, or something like that, where your character's not a good guy, but they're taking an ends justify the means approach rather than just like I'm evil, blah ha ha. And if you're doing the I'm evil, blah ha ha, then you should have some comedy to it. I think, it's I only played a little bit of it. Wasn't there like a strategy or management game? Was it Evil Genius that kind of has like a real campy feel to it? So or Dungeon Keeper, yeah, that's another one. So yeah, I think what it was, yeah, BioWare is kind of infamous for that sort of thing. Like a lot of their games have the like extreme, yeah, have like saint versus devil kind of choices. Somebody's asking about deleting a message. Don't worry about it. I just disregarded it. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna answer. Yeah, their question was about the Battleborn episode. I mentioned that in I think it's the third follow up. I talk about that. So, uh, let's see. But yeah, I don't think the karma thing is a great system, or at least I haven't seen it done in a really satisfying way. Though I still need to play Disco Elysium. It sounds like that they have a better take on it. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be like all gray. Yeah, I guess. Some of the Telltale games have what I call like the illusion of a karma system, where you know you're gonna do something good or bad, and you might face minor consequences from it, but you're heading towards the same destination anyway. But maybe Disco Elysium handles that better, or yeah, we were mentioning it, Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe it does that well too, where having really evil characters is kind of like baked into the world, and that's less about at least my rough understanding of it. I'm just basing it off of what bits I've heard and other Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Is it's less about having good versus evil so much as like having a lot of stuff. So you can be a good guy, you can be a bad guy, you can be a smart ass, you can be noble. I mean, it's really going for like the role playing element where you can be a lot of different things if you want to. So, and evil is just like one slice of the pie of all sorts of other things. Okay. Someone's asking about weirdest experience of deja vu and Jamie vu, which I wasn't familiar with. They're saying the familiar feeling strange or new. I guess if I have had that, I forgot about it. So, have you ever played any Game Boy games? Yeah, I actually did have a Game Boy. That was one of the. I'm not sure if that's the only console, like official console I've owned. Like, I'm trying to think, but yeah, I remember we were going on a big trip, and I was gonna be able to get it as a gift, and I had it. So I've played Super Mario Land, Kirby's Dream Land, Super Mario Land 2, Wario Land. I played others. Okay, well, to expand past that, I played the fan-made remake of Metroid 2, which was great. Yeah, the one that got banned on the internet, essentially. But once the cat's out of the bag, it's out there. I mean, that's not going to stop me from just because Nintendo doesn't like it doesn't mean not going to stop me from playing this fantastic production that the fan made. For Game Boy Advance, I played. Oh, somebody's saying it's better than the official remake. Okay. For Game Boy Advance, this is emulated. I played. I think. Okay. No, that's right. Okay, I played. Was it Castlevania? I think it's Circle of the Moon. Is that the? I'm getting it mixed up now. I think it was the first one. It's the one that's like a little more traditional. You had a lot of cards, I remember. It's a little more traditional Castlevania. It's not the one set in the future. It might have been Circle of the Moon. Yeah, yeah, it's Circle of the Moon. Okay, I played Metroid Fusion, played Metroid Zero Mission on Game Boy Advance. For Nintendo DS, I think I played all the Castlevanias for the DS. So, yeah, I played a handful of them. Well, I mean, I guess I played Tetris on the Game Boy too, but I also played that other platform. In fact, I didn't play. I didn't get a copy of Tetris for it because I real limited funds of what I could buy for it, but because I knew what it was like, I thought, well, no, I gotta aim better than that. I actually didn't even own Kirby's Dream Land. It's just that was one they had on display at a department store, and I had visited it so many times. I had basically seen the whole game. Or unless I saw the remainder on like a friend's Game Boy or something. So I didn't buy that one either because I knew, like, okay, I've already played this. I need to, if I'm gonna buy one, I need to buy one I haven't played. So I'd say out of the ones I played on like old school Game Boy, Wario Land was probably my favorite. Like being able to like just ram the enemies and crush them. I still have the theme in my head, you know. So yeah, I've played some Game Boy, but it's the sort of thing where I'd really need a reason to go back to it because I like having more defined sound and I like having colors, and even for pixel art, the higher resolution, you know. Like once you get to like Super Nintendo, I'm very happy with quality levels. You know, so if a new game comes out and it's only aiming for like Super Nintendo production quality, I'm totally on board because that a great color, good, really great music, you know, good sound, goodish sound effects. It's good resolution for pixel art, so it's. I feel like that's the standard to hit if you can. Though it's probably easier having the reduced palette. And in fact, there was one game oh man, there was one game, I think it was called Haiku. It's one I might make an exception on where I didn't like the colors to it, but it looked like it was going to be a pretty solid kind of Metroid type pixel art game. I think it was called Haiku. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, there's good games on pretty much every platform. I'm not against. Yeah, I'm not against like consoles and console games existing. I just like them. Yeah, it was Haiku. That was the name of it. Haiku the robot. I don't like them being locked off from everything, you know. So or tied to that hardware, then they discontinue the hardware, so then you kind of have to scrounge around and have a copy of it, that sort of thing. So I was saying, what about Atari style? I'm not sure I've seen an Atari style that just really grabbed me. Maybe I haven't seen the right game because, like, Atari style is similar to Commodore, but Commodore got more complicated with the graphics and the feel of it. That there's a lot of Commodore games that have like a neat appeal to me. Yeah, like I pointed out in like the Captain Zap episode, like that jungle, very basic pixel art jungle, but man, it had a mood to it, you know. So and there's a lot of Commodore stuff like that where it really has a mood, whereas Atari, I feel like it has like I feel like it has like one flavor and that's retro, and I feel like Atari works best for like action games if you had like a rave soundtrack going on at the same time, maybe some colored lights or something, then I feel like Atari would hit its like peak experience or something like that. But it's a much more limited spectrum of what constitutes like a good experience for me. So I was asking what I think about the Disgaea series. I'm totally unfamiliar with it. Sorry. Okay, I should look at some more. Any New Year's resolutions planned that aren't about making videos? Yeah, I really need to start learning more Polish. My plan is once I get a few more videos done, I want to make a habit of it where I'm just spending, like, I don't know, it might be as little as like 10 minutes a day on it, which sounds like nothing, but what I'm trying to do is build the habit, and I want to make it, I want to make the habit really easy to start off, because the hardest part is just sort of wiring my neurons so I feel like I have to do it each day. And then once I've my brain's sort of wired like that, then I'll increase what I'm doing. And I'm just going to be like learning more nouns and verbs pretty much. That's all I'm going to be doing for the start off. So yeah, the longer it goes on, the more it's going to become a liability for me. So not speaking enough Polish. Have you ever had a lucid dream? Had control of a dream? Yeah, but I think I've forgotten all of them. It's dreams, especially, I tend to forget pretty quickly after I wake up. It tends to be rare when I'm consciously in control of it. Okay, let's see. I might skip a few. Okay, what's this one say? Oh, you said before finished games go to the back of the list. More likely, I assume that means you won't pick a game dungeon on them until they are finished. But does that mean games like Project Zomboid will almost never be game dungeons, since it and others often seem like games that have no real endpoint and just generally update until the devs can't anymore, presumably? No, it's not an absolutist thing. It's more like it deters me when I know a game's early access and they're still working on it. So I figure, why not just play a finished game? You know, if I really wanted to play an early access game, I might go for it anyway. And Project Zomboid's kind of a weird case where they're almost abusing early access in the complete opposite direction, where they're saying it's early access, but it probably isn't now. It probably is like more polished than a lot of like release games that aren't calling themselves early access. Except I was slow to learn that, so I just kept kind of putting it back and like, okay, well, they're working on, I'll put it back. So since it sounds like it's hit a level of polish that is pretty high. So at some point, I'll definitely play it. I mean, it's one I'm still looking forward to quite a bit. So, and yeah, if I like it, I could make a game dungeon. So it's not an absolutist thing. It's like, no, as long as they're calling it, I'll never touch it or play it. It's just that there's a lot of games out there, but Project Zomboid is way up there for games I want to play. So, have you ever heard of Afterfall Insanity? Yes, I have played that. They say it's kind of a Dead Space clone with a twist. Yeah, I would call it like a budget Dead Space. It's kind of like this is so sort of like the Kmart version of Dead Space there. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna skip some more stuff. Ross, did you think that Sam Altman in, Sam Altman out thing was weird too? Or do you find it understandable? Any thoughts on it? I didn't look at too many details. It did sort of feel kind of schizophrenic to me that he was like fired from OpenAI, but then like the board wants him back or something. I don't know what's going on there. And now Microsoft is like a member of the board, but they don't have voting privileges. That just because of how my brain works. I just remembered back to the earlier question about federal crimes. The president can't pardon state crimes officially. However, the president could lean on a governor. So if the governor was cooperative or they exchanged some favors, I think the governor has to pardon a state crime. So yeah, but if the president called them up and say like, hey, is there something we could do to help you out, like a bill you're trying to pass? I could talk to Congress, and if they wanted somebody pardoned that way, they could probably make it happen. So, let's see, and I derailed myself again. I have to find. Oh yeah, the OpenAI stuff. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's. I have heard from someone who does use Chat GPT a lot that it's gotten a lot less useful. Like apparently it's like censoring a bunch more results, or he'll ask it to summarize a video, and they'll say I can't do that, but I can link you to the video instead. Like it's apparently they're getting overcautious about it. I'm not sure, or there might have been a suit earlier that proved they were like harvesting stuff from some websites without permission. I think there was a lawsuit about that going on. So who knows? I will say after all my AI interviews and emails and stuff, I think I'm even more convinced that AI does not pose an existential threat to humanity after listening to all the arguments on it and getting more information on it. I think it's I think it's more like a belief thing than something that has like a basis to the reasoning. But yeah, well, hey, there's at least they have competition. So, even if they fall on, even if they trip over themselves with trying to clamp down on it too much, I think Facebook's releasing, I think they're working on the next model and they're releasing it all for people to try. So that's awesome. Well, so what's your personal experience of the big games list so far? Are you working through it bit by bit? Yeah, I have, but I haven't been so hot at updating the entries. So there's probably like a couple dozen games on there I have played and have ratings for. It just seemed like a lower priority for me to update that than everything else I'm working on. So maybe I could do a rapid fire session of it sometime, or stream, do a quick stream of the ones I have gone through. I feel like I'm not. I feel like they are probably getting added faster. No, I'm almost certain they're getting added faster than I'm getting through them. However, I feel like I have three things going for me. One, I'm getting a lot better at just, if a game just doesn't feel like it's worth playing, but I'm kind of curious about it, I just go straight for the playthrough and watch it. So the games that I am playing, I'm probably really enjoying now, because they sort of passed like an additional filter. Two, I figure maybe someday eventually I'll retire and be able to kind of catch up on more games than at that point. And maybe I only had three things, and maybe I only had two things, and not three. I feel like there was another thing I was catching. Well, I guess the third, no, because that games list is still. Well, I guess the other thing is I think I'm getting even pickier, like than I was when I started off making that list. So, but man, there's still a lot of promising games out there. It's just overwhelming. I'm trying my best to keep up. Maybe we'll get lucky and have another game industry crash, and I can try to catch up some. But that was the third thing. Is some games are much bigger than others. So there have been days where I've gone through 5 or 6 games. I've decided, nope, not for me. Nope, not for me. I'll just skim a playthrough, watch a playthrough more carefully. This one, where they just weren't clicking. So they're not all winners for me. So I can make, that was the third thing. I can kind of gain ground. It's not like one game gets this attention, but it yeah, but even then the gaps in between those times can be pretty big, especially if I'm really busy on the videos. Then I can go a couple weeks I'm not playing anything. So it's tricky, but I'm not giving up hope. But my hope is to get through the entire list eventually. So we'll see. I guess I need the industry to make more games I'm not interested in. So okay, I'm gonna skip some more. Well, this one's they're asking, what are your thoughts on the forced upgrade practice that some live service titles are doing these days? They mentioned Overwatch and Counter-Strike Go. Yeah, I mean, not a fan, obviously. I think they should offer an option for like local or like connection by IP play. And of course, they won't do that. So this this sort of thing, I feel like is, I mean, stopping games from being utterly destroyed is still the priority for me. But this is sort of like number two, you know, because it's like they're sort of destroying it and they're sort of not. I mean, you are losing things the original had, but there's a lot that was in the original that's going to be in the sequel that they're replacing it with. So it's like, you know, but yeah, that would be someone saying I skipped their question. Well, I might not have had a great answer depending on what your question was. I'm not seeing someone with this, so you might have been using a different screen name in the chat than what. So I don't know which one yours was. Sorry, but I didn't have a great answer if I'm skipping it, most likely. So I was saying, have you considered playing leaked alpha beta versions of a game you're familiar with? I mean, maybe. It just depends. I think the one I'm interested in that I've heard about was there's like a restored alpha version of Stalker where the original, and that's one where like the layout is like very different. Like I think because Stalker is sort of pseudo linear, where you kind of move from one zone to the next, and you know it kind of guides you loosely towards your destination, and it splits at a couple points, but not too much. Whereas I think in the alpha it was like full open world, so that would almost be like a different game. So yeah, that would be kind of interesting. I mean, I guess if it's a game I'm really familiar with, I have some interest in it. Like I played a fair chunk of Quake Wars, and I remember in the screenshots, there's an area that's not in the game. It had a lot of like evergreens. I remember there's one screenshot that like that's like, nope, that is not in the game, and that level looks cool. Why didn't we get that? Damn it, you know. So, I yeah, if it was a game I like knew really well, had a lot of interest. Like say there was like a scrap Deus Ex level, I'd be interested in that. Or I guess a few things. I mean, it's kind of a mix with those games because on one hand, it's really cool to see stuff that you know really well that's like more than that was there originally. By the other hand, you know, these are usually small pieces and it's going to leave you kind of hungry for more of the real thing or just a full game than diving deep into the alpha or beta stuff. So, but yeah, it can be fun to look at. Like some like scrapped enemies can be neat. Like even Half-Life, I think they had one called like Mr. Happy or something that looked pretty freaky. Yeah, Half-Life 2 especially had like a lot of interesting cut content. So, oh, there's someone saying CS:GO is 99% different to how it launched. None of the maps or weapons have been left untouched. Yeah, I mean it that's one where it's not quite as clear, cut and dried as just no one can play the game at all. But again, it's like one notch below that. But I figure it's such an uphill battle trying to get the law to examine this in the first place. I don't even want to focus on the cases that leave any wiggle room out of it. And they'll be like, well, we're updating this. And see, here's what would happen. If you went to court starting with this before we've secured like before we've secured the law saying that you can't just destroy a game you've paid for a perpetual license of, then I mean, one, assuming it even makes it to the court, they're gonna come out with all these like Weasley arguments saying, it's like, well, ask anyone in the industry, and updating a game is a common practice that is not only has a history, but is quite frankly demanded by the players, and they'll try to pass this off like this isn't Counter-Strike 2. This is really just 1.1, and the fans want this, and this is normal, and it's just simply a branding thing that this is different. And you know, gamers will complain about the smallest things. See, they're gonna come at you with all these like dishonest kind of counter arguments for it. And if you can just eliminate that, like, no, the game is dead. No one can play it. Any version of it, it's dead. We paid money for this. How is this still legal? If you come out with that, they don't have any of those arguments. They're just like, it's just don't talk about it is the only really winning strategy. Oh, so somebody's saying Mr. Friendly, not Mr. Happy, so, for the monster. So it's I'm with you in the sense that sucks that they're killing it and destroying it, but it's like this is harder. This is a more difficult stance to dethrone here. Whereas when it's just dead, then that's like Darkspore or something like that. Nobody's playing Darkspore. Nobody's playing Darkspore 2. It is dead. So I feel like that stands the best chance. And then it also leads to much less frustrating discussions because there's no defense of it. There's none. I mean, it's other than we're exploiting a gray area in the law, and we can make money doing that, and we don't care what the customers think. That's the only real defense of it. So, or we're just incompetent and never foresaw this, which I don't buy. So, it's okay. I'm skipping some more. Again, these are all ones I don't have like great answers for or have answered them already. This is something I completely forgot about. Do you think that Claude really killed Maria at the end of GTA 3? Was he named Claude before or after? What GTA 3 was released. I wasn't sure if that name got added later, but the protagonist. I think he did because he comes across as kind of a low key psycho from what I remember of him. So it's I think he did it. Just didn't lose sleep over it. Let's see. Yeah, this was the Oh no, the revival of okay. I mixed up a question somebody else was asking. Can you talk about the revival of the online game Battleborn? Okay, I was mixing up Battleborn with Battleforge. Sorry, so I was referring you to a video that wasn't talking about that. No, I wasn't aware Battleborn got revived. So great. Let's see, Shutdown. It's playable again, even if it's only PvE solo for now, with some features like achievements. Who cares about achievements when you're just trying to get the game to run? I mean, like, good God. Multiplayer, that's going to be a highly desirable achievement. Not achievement. That's highly desirable feature. It's... No, great. Okay, so yeah, sorry I mixed that up. Yeah, so they have a Discord. Here, I'll put it. I don't know if I'll put it in the final links, but I'll put it in the chat. Well, it's from the Reddit page that this is on, but that's the Discord for the Battleborn thing. So, how likely is it that you have a Game Dungeon episode in Deus Ex: Mankind Divided in the near future? Not very likely. I still haven't played it. I wasn't really feeling it. I knew it ended on a cliffhanger, so I'm like, eh. I like how they got rid of the tinting, but maybe I'll give it a shot at some point. But I still haven't played it. There's other games I'd rather play. I currently just the games I have installed right now are Cloudpunk and Greedfall. Those are both ones I've been wanting to play. So, in fact, okay, I don't mean this in a harsh way, but I'm probably more likely to play another total conversion for original Deus Ex before I'll play Mankind Divided. Human Revolution, like the gameplay was pretty good, but the story just did not impress me at all. And I'm kind of expecting more of the same from Mankind Divided. I mean, maybe. Well, I'll ask the chat. How wrong am I? I mean because like in Human Revolution, it just felt like a mono theme. It's just like everything's cyborgs. Like that's all there is. We're not having like bigger questions about society. No, it's cyborgs. Everything cyborgs. What are the consequences of having cyborgs? Oh, life is hard now that some people are cyborgs, some aren't. Like that's I feel like that's all it was, and like maybe they change it a little bit, but like I'm not expecting much different. Or I feel like if it was really different, I probably would have heard that from people contacting me or a review, something like that. So I don't know. Yeah, somebody saying Zodiac mod. That might be the one I wanted to play next. Because I played, was it 2054? That one was pretty good. So, but there was another total conversion that looked pretty good. That might have been Zodiac. I forget the name of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure the gameplay is good on Mankind Divide, and again, I liked how they got rid of the tinning and had the art assets look good. But it's just like I don't know. It's without the story kind of get getting me more interested. It's harder to drum up more interest in it for me. So, but I mean, I'll probably play it at some point. But it's unfortunately more towards the back of the line. All right, some more questions. Okay, someone's talking about whenever there's a tragic shooting event, most, if not all, politicians tend to go out of their way to blame violent forms of media, not just movies but games as well. Want to know what I thought about this? That's been going on maybe almost as long as I've been alive. I guess no, not that long because well, no, okay, if you count since I've been alive, Dungeons and Dragons was a scapegoat at one point. In fact, there's a funny comic that was made on it showing like the evils of Dungeons and Dragons where they turn to Satan worshippers, and like it comes across like the reefer madness for Dungeons and Dragons. But I think like the first big one to get like national attention might have been Mortal Kombat. So yeah, I was a kid then. The and like yeah, and then of course when the Columbine shooting happened, that ratcheted it back up again. So I mean, it's a scapegoat, obviously, and maybe there's a few true believers among the politicians, but I imagine most of them are just going with like what sells with their constituents and just playing a game out of it themselves. So it's someone's saying link us to the comic, Russ. I don't have a link ready. Okay, I'll put that in the description. I'll put that in the description when I put this on YouTube. But yeah, it's. I think by now this has been going on so long that probably more people understand that there's not much to this. They're deeper problems. Like in fact, if well, I don't know if I'll. Yeah, I gotta be careful what I'm saying here. I was gonna say I don't know if I'll ever get it off the ground or not, but if I do manage to do something with like the Postal series, I would kind of want to like hint at things that might contribute to people going postal, that sort of thing. More well, I mean, like the phrase "going postal" comes from like basically a spree shooter at the post office, where at the time they were putting these kind of veterans, a lot of them with PTSD. The government was trying to find jobs for them, so they put them in the post office, and some of them snapped, and that's kind of where the term came from. So it's yeah. Well, somebody's saying, see, I think it's more complicated. Okay, see, somebody's saying it can't be the guns, but Yeah, yes, saying it's not the guns, it's the mental health problem. See, of course the guns are part of it, but I think the guns are just the most obvious symptom. Because yes, I think if you were to have more stringent gun control, that would reduce the number of deaths. But which I mean, that's good. But I feel like a lot of the people focusing on that look at just that and then consider, okay, well, problem solved. Okay, no, the people who snap on this, they're still going to be suffering inside their heads, and if they're not getting like mental health care or just sometimes it's just the stress of like having to survive, making rent, being able to afford food, things like that, or just not having like any sort of community friendships to that. I see that as kind of like, you know, like clearing weeds by cutting them down instead of digging them up, like getting rid of the guts. And it would make a tangible difference, but I feel like you're not addressing the other half of it if that's all that's being focused on. And plus, I mean, you had a case like was it like the Oklahoma City bombing or something. I mean, if someone's really now a lot of these people are extra mentally unhinged, so they won't have the capacity to do a lot of damage if without the guns. But some of them might have more together and still do a lot of damage without guns, like using bombs or stuff like that. And that's why like getting at the core of the problem is like why are people going postal, and that's a much more that's a more complicated question. So it's not that I'm like against like focusing on the guns, but I feel like it's only focusing on half of it, you know. So let's see, look at some of the comments. But yeah, and also it's okay. That's more time I wanted to spend on it, but yeah, I just wanted to say that like, there's more to it than just guns. Like it's there have been spree killings involved without involving guns, though guns are obviously a catalyst. That might be the better word I'm looking for towards the deaths happening. And okay, well, I'm repeating myself. Let's see. So we're talking about the Sega Ages version of Outrun for the PS2. It sounds like it just had and a bunch of people mentioned the port to me that I didn't know about that probably should have looked into. And they want to know, interested to hear what I think of cartooning games like Midnight Club and Need for Speed Underground. I'm not enough of a gearhead to really care about the tuning. Like I'm the sort of person where like if the game has an option like do my tuning for me and hit a button, it's like all right, back to racing. So I'm it doesn't do much for me. I'm fine with it having that as long as I don't have to get bogged down in it too much. So like let's say you have like different difficulties or something. So like if you wanted to win on hard, you essentially have to be tuning your car like really well. But if you just want to play it more casually, like play on normal or easy, you can get away without tuning your car and it works all right. So that's another part where it just sort of feels more like work to me. I want to go back to the racing. So kind of a more casual approach to that for me. Somebody's asking about Linux. That's going to get covered later in a video, but they're saying desktop environments like KDE are so configurable and Wine Proton is so viable these days that I have to imagine you could settle in without too much hassle. There's so much more to it than that. You're downplaying it. You may not realize it, but you're downplaying it. So, I'll have a full report at some point. So. Okay, someone's asking if I need more help from French people on the software as a product thing. I need to get going on like the next steps on that stuff. So not yet, but I'll make a video on it if I do. Oh yeah, this one kind of hurt, but it's true. They're saying they feel like game dungeons are getting a bit shouty, and it seems like most of the narration is done at a higher register when compared to any video game where you're on camera, and that can make listening to it a bit tiring, and subtle jokes less effective. Am I crazy here? Any idea what's going on? This is a problem I've been struggling with for like my entire history of making videos. And what tends to happen is if I talk in a more normal voice, that it's almost like it sounds like I'm putting people to sleep. And like when I give, like, and it's like almost can't give emphasis to certain things without like going too high. It's almost like my voice is like, those faucets where it's like too cold or too hot. Um, the, what? I'm this is making me think I'll try again on it. I'll do some more tests on maybe it's a mic thing, maybe it's just my enunciation thing. I don't know, but you're right, and I hate that about my videos. But it's like I either keep falling back into it or I haven't figured out how to break out of it, or I don't know. So no, I mean I want to shout when it's warranted. It's just the regular discussion. I don't want to blow people away with that. And I agree, it could be tiring. And I think that's actually one thing that's kind of probably held my channel back to a degree. Well, that'll be a plus about the movie is I'm just going to be one character. So in it, like it's going to have a lot of other people. And even then, that character won't be too shouty, I don't think, or at least not except when it's appropriate. So, no, you're right. I'll try and give it another pass and see if I can tune it a little more. So, somebody said, okay, well, thank you. That makes me feel better. Somebody wrote, it gives a homeless guy ranting vibe. So that's good. If I'm giving that vibe, I will absolutely take that perception on it. It's like if that's a tier I'm hitting and people are tuning in for that, good enough, great, mission accomplished. So, that's not exactly what I'm aiming for, but I'll take it. I'll take that. Like I'd rather be homeless guy ranting than just someone like sort of muttering into just being real calm and just talking about the game, but it's not really. I don't know. That just wouldn't, because I want people to understand. Well, I mean, partially I can talk like this anyway if I'm getting kind of worked up about something, but the other thing is like I want people to understand how I feel about the game and different aspects of it. And if I just really try to calm my voice down, it's like so much emphasis can get lost. But you're 100% right. I have room for improvement on that. It's just I haven't figured it out. But this is I'm gonna try again. I'll try again, but no promises. We'll see. So he's asking, did I ever receive the full poster size map of Revenant? No, I need to finish the damn map. I'm noticing this is a bad habit. Well, I'm getting a hell of a lot better at cracking down on taking on new projects, but there's still a hell of a lot of old projects I need to finish off that have been kind of mounting. So that's one of them. And I need, including the emails. So. And I'm going to. Okay, there's a few more questions. Let's see. So I was asking, do you ever find there's something you miss about your time as a security guard? No. I mean, do you suppose it was a formative experience for you? Maybe, but like, I feel like I've had experiences that were bad, but I learned a lot from it. From that one, I don't think I learned much. Like it's, well, I guess I learned that it's not great being stuck with your own thoughts for hours at a time. And I sort of knew that already, but I'm not sure that's a lesson I needed drilled into my head. So, let's see. Oh, they have a dilemma. Okay, I didn't see this part. Let us suppose you're terraforming a planet. You, Scott, are obligated to make it a desert planet. Your resources and technology are boundless, yet those are your instructions. How do you make it interesting, something you're happy to put your name on? Well, I guess you have to. I guess if you could have like a real thriving underground ecosystem, that could be pretty cool. So the surface is desert, but underground it's like this vibrant, verdant world. That could be fine. And like if it needs to be a desert planet, I guess I would need to know more about why. So I mean, yeah, we can do that. I guess there's just not enough water to go around. But if we're terraforming it, what are we terraforming it from? Just see, I think you might be trying to have your cake and eat it too, because we need a breathable atmosphere for a terraformed planet, I'm assuming. Well, you're not going to get that unless you have a lot of plant life. And by definition, deserts do not have a lot of plant life. That is not where the air you breathe is being made. You know, that's mostly from the ocean. I guess you could have I guess it could be a desert planet, but like a real vibrant aquatic planet. That's possible. So like nothing can really live on the surface, but in the oceans, it's great. Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be kind of surreal, but interesting, you know. So I was saying deserts can be full of life, not enough to produce the oxygen you breathe. I mean, you say full of life. I mean, what? I don't think it's that full. I mean, compared to like a forest or a meadow, I mean, jungle, the amount of just sheer oxygen you're getting off just has to be probably like what, 1,000th of what those put out, and if you're terraforming, you know, oxygen production is going to be a big deal. So no, I mean deserts. Does desert include mesa? Because mesa can be beautiful. Well, somebody's saying just do Arrakis. Yeah, I mean Arrakis is cool. It's again like the deserts I do like are probably more the ones that look kind of like the Sahara, where there's just nothing but sand, and you have mountains and dunes and sandstorms. It kind of has its own surreal feel to it, and I kind of like those deserts more than just like Badlands, where you have like a lot of cracked earth where it rains like once a year or something like that. But yeah, I mean, somebody's saying deserts can be full of life. I mean, deserts deserts can have more life than you would think. I'll agree on that. You know, there's a lot of hidden life. You know, but not compared to pretty much every other ecosystem. So yeah, there are tons of water conserving adaptations that life uses. Well, I don't think that's going to be enough to terraform it then, because where is your oxygen coming from? I mean, I guess if the animals, because I mean, I think most of our oxygen comes from algae or like deeper ocean plants. Yeah, well, again, if the surface is desert, but we have a vibrant aquatic ecosystem, sure, that could work, and that'd be kind of neat in a way. You know, it's like harsh, but also has a lot going for it. You know. Okay, and okay, there's one more question, then I'll take live ones. So I'm saying, do you think Star Wars would have been better if David Lynch had directed it? Uh, Probably not the original trilogy, but the others, yeah, it's worth a shot. I mean, uh, let's see. Okay, after the whole Uni fiasco, do you still feel comfortable basing the movie on Unreal as opposed to actual free open alternatives like Blender or Godot? Oh yeah, because you gotta understand, like I don't have the resources that like a major professional production would have, so I have to take every advantage I have. And what I need more than anything else is just a robust animation system. Like everything else. Put it like this: just about any engine is going to be fine for my purposes, except animation. Animation, I need every single advantage I can get. And if I look, I would even do it on Unity if I thought that. Like even now, I mean, unless it was going to be an enormous, unless I don't even know what the terms of service are. I'm guessing I'm small enough that it wouldn't matter for me, unless it was going to bankrupt me for no reason. I would probably even do it on Unity if it meant that the animation was tools were so much better, because that's at the least that's going to save me weeks, if not months of work. At the worst, that's the difference between getting the movie made and not. So Unreal, I'm pretty sure can deliver all that. So that's why I'm going with it. And plus, they've been much more reasonable over time. I mean, so and they don't have the former Ubisoft CEO as their main guy. So Epic, I think Epic's made a lot of missteps, but I think a lot of their behavior shows that they're aiming for long-term use, not just with the engine, also with the Epic store. So that's a good sign that I can get the movie made before they're likely to turn cartoony evil or something. So yeah, do at Ross Broadcast if the chat if you want to ask another question. I'll taking the live questions. Yeah, and somebody's asking another question. Want more details about Freeman's Mind? I'm not getting into. Sorry. Oh yeah, no, you're right. I meant Electronic Arts, not Ubisoft. Somebody corrected me. John Riccitelio. Do you have a name for the ceiling lamp in your room? No, I don't. I don't name. Geez, I hardly name anything. Let's see. Have you heard of the Jingle Jam charity live stream? This year they gave away $1,300 worth of games for $40. All the money goes to charity. No, I haven't, but I mean, it's on the video now, so. Oh, I did not listen. I can't remember if I listened to Exclusive Coup that last time. Not since you asked it last time. I'll write it down this time. Exclusive Coup. Somebody. I'll listen to it for sure by next time. If I'm not mixing it up with another one. So it could be I've already listened to it and I thought that was the one that would just, it felt too chaotic for my kind of music. But I could be thinking of something else. So. Did you enjoy the older OC remix album, Sonic Augmentation? I have not heard that. Okay, I'll look into that. Have you been to Coalinga? Oh, is that one of the mines? No, I haven't. I went to what was the name of it? Katowice for one event, but I didn't get a chance to see the mines. So. How do you prepare yourself to get into that homeless guy ranting mood you get into Game Dungeon and your other videos? I don't think, in my case, I don't think there's much to prepare. I'm just thinking, I just sort of fall into it. You know, I just, like, I write the script ahead of time and then I just read it and my brain sort of like locks in with what I was thinking. So. Yeah, I mean, I've said before, like Game Dungeon, it's basically a reenactment of like how I felt about the game and my thoughts better organized. I'm not really, I mean, there's probably a couple times that I was doing it, but I'm not really playing things up too much. You're mostly getting my thoughts, like just as authentically as I can recreate them. So it's not as carefully organizing it so it makes sense and flows. That's the part that takes work. It's not really coming up with like, oh, how do I present how let's make up how I feel about this. No, it's just coming from how I think about it. So. Okay. How would you say your fan base has evolved over the years? I have no idea. I'm sorry. You guys figure it out. You guys probably get to read more in the chat than I do because I'm not great at multitasking. And sometimes if conversations get going, I have no clue what's been said for pages. So. Do you have any plans for more live content besides video chats and interviews? Not at the moment. I mean, I guess if people really want it, I could, but even though I get the sense that the people who really want that, it's probably like a vocal minority. And I'd rather, I mean, put it like this: would you rather have that, or would you have a new game dungeon? You know, I think I would rather have a new game dungeon, but I, I got to get more stuff nailed down, more stuff finished before I take on more things I'm doing. I I've been aware that's been kind of a problem, that I haven't been able to keep pace with finishing everything I'm trying to at the rate I want to try more things. But I've gotten a lot better at shutting off new things. But so I have to play triage, I'm afraid. Do you know approximately when the next Game Dungeon follow-up episode will be? Like very roughly which quarter? I'm hoping first quarter next year. So yeah, they're working on something. You might want to again before it gets done. Well, hey, you know what? Even if you miss the window, there'll probably be another one after that. So don't worry about it too much. What else has made you laugh so hard you couldn't breathe? Oh man, there's something. Okay, it wasn't so hard I couldn't breathe, but I broke out laughing at this. It was. Oh, here, maybe I can find it on the fly. It was. It's something that made me laugh harder than I thought it. Yeah, here we go. Here, I'm putting it in the chat. 80s kid trauma starter pack. and I knew every reference in there, and it just cracked. I don't know, seeing it put all together, it made me laugh out loud. See. I mean, there's funnier stuff, but that's the last one I remember that I saw. Like yeah, a lot of '80s kids movies had some bite to them. Like, did someone tell you about Civi doing a video on Strife? No, I haven't. Even like YouTubers I like. I haven't been watching much YouTube at all. Like that's something I'm just gonna have to like let pile up, and then like probably months from now I'll just watch several through at once. Yeah, I mean Civi's pretty much every YouTuber's like on that list for me at the moment. So well, I will be curious what are his thoughts on Strife though. That's yeah, because he's kind of coming at it from a different angle than I am, which is interesting. He I feel like Civi has like his expectations of what he's expecting from the first person shooter that may or may not overlap with mine, whereas mine I almost, well, my stomach's growling. Mine I'm kind of just kind of going in and you're giving my experience of it, how thoughts it gives me, that sort of thing. So what are some good Polish delicacies recommended besides pierogies? I don't remember the name of it. It was no, I forgot. Sorry. I don't eat a whole lot of like traditional Polish foods because a lot of it's not actually that healthy. And then for how it's not that healthy, and it's not necessarily like the tastiest stuff, in my opinion, if you are going to be eating something not that healthy. So, do you reserve giving likes on YouTube videos? Or are you more liberal with what you like? Same with dislikes. I don't think I've liked any YouTube video because I noticed it marked on your history, and I was thinking, oh, I didn't want to have to. I didn't want to have to deal with the like having it explained like or dislike whatever. So I just don't. I think I just don't put that on any of the videos now. It's the same for subscriptions. I don't think I'm subscribed to anything. I have like comments though, but this is why I don't tell people like, oh, like, comment, subscribe, because like I mean I'd be a hypocrite. I'm not doing that. I mean, it helps me, but like I'm not gonna tell you to do that. So great if you do. So, have you seen the popular series Half-Life, but the AI is self-aware? Yeah, I watched an episode or two of it. It looked pretty promising. I felt like they were kind of overusing the passport joke, but I ended up stopping just because it was making me kind of queasy from the motion sickness. So I kind of gave up on it. Plus, I've seen a lot of Half-Life, but I felt like I watched enough to get a feel of it. So, but yeah, it was pretty good for. Who would you be most disappointed to see their Wikipedia page change from is to was? Oh, so like most most disappointed that they died. I mean, I don't know. It's I, you know, I'm almost I'm almost looking at life more and more like it's just like a survival game, you know, where you're expecting like a certain chunk of death and tragedy, and it's the more that doesn't happen, then great, you know. And so I don't know. It's I I'm not sure who famous that I would be most disappointed by their death. But well, hey, I just linked to that '80s trauma, '80s kid trauma starter pack. So maybe that had influenced my mind a little bit. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to. Yeah, that was the last question. Okay, so thanks for showing up. I feel so dumb I don't have more videos out for you, but I really am putting a lot into them. I have great ones coming at some point, and before that, for sure, a Christmas episode, and probably not long after that, that side video, and not long after that, that extra game digest. So it's kind of erratic pacing, but it'll there's good stuff coming, I promise. So I think I'll end on that. So thanks for showing up, and more coming.